Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council regular meeting. Today is September 13th, 2017. It is now 8:10 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Mayor Kranjak,
Here.
Councilperson Zaversa,
Here.
E. Park,
Here.
O.
Here.
McMorrow,
Here.
M. Park,
Here.
Wu,
Here.
Borough Attorney,
Present.
Superintendent DPW,
Here.
Borough Administrator, Municipal Clerk, and Borough Engineer.
Here.
Everyone's present, Mayor.
Great, thank you. For the flag salute, could I have the Little League players come up and lead us? Come on up, guys. Please rise for the flag salute. That's all. That's all. Hands on the heart, so the flag. That's all. That's all.
And on your heart.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, stay right there. Good job, guys. While we're standing, can we have a moment of silence for the victims of 9/11, Hurricane Harvey, and Hurricane Irma? Thank you. Madam Clerk, we have the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon the completion of typing and proofreading by the municipal clerk.
Great, thank you. We're going to honor our Englewood Cliffs 2017 District Championship Travel Team, the 10U team. They're here. Councilwoman McMorrow is in charge of recreation. As chairperson, so she's ready. She's got her list. We're going to acknowledge all of you. You guys did a great job. I was very fortunate because I got to go to their party when they won that night. And, you know, the last time I saw you guys, you were having a lot of fun. But you have to get home and do homework now, right? So,
What I'm going to do, because I want to be able to call each and every one of you up here by name, I am going to ask you to go back out in line here so I can call you up each one. And then with your coaches, because you deserve it. Okay, if I can have everybody's attention for a moment, this is really exciting. And I have to say, I did see that this championship game, Councilman Wu was there. This was probably one of the most exciting games that I've ever watched. And that being said, I'm going to let the coaches go into a little more detail, but we have to be proud of all of these children. They did a phenomenal job, and I want to call them one by one up here so that they can be honored. Now, I understand Kyle Lee was not able to be here tonight, but I wanted to state his name as well. So the first player is Kyle Lee. Next, I have Anthony Senator. Please, we can have a round of applause. Luke Senator. Gabriel Rosen. Matt Sivan. John Holloway. Francesco what Andy said before you guys came up here. His son said that he would kill to be in the position that you guys were in right now, so,
10-year-old Morristown.
this is such an honor, and I remember the last time that this was won in Englewood Cliffs, but I'm gonna let Tom tell the story about that, because I do remember it myself, but...
So I'm going to try to give a quick synopsis. We were down to our last out against Palisades Park. What is bracket?
We were in the
Losers bracket. Down to our last out. We tied the game. We wound up winning in extra innings, and that put us into the final round. But we lost, and what happened, we had to beat Teaneck, which to me was a really powerhouse around here. We had to beat them twice. We beat their best pitcher in a 7-3 game. I think it was 7-3 or final. And then we came back to the championship game in Richfield. And then we mercied Teaneck. They didn't know what hit them. We mercied Teaneck 13-3, and then put in the district court championship. We were down 3-0 in that game, and these kids showed so much grit, so much fight in them, that really, Leon, Albert, and I could not be prouder of every single one. And 1 through 12, all the kids contributed. They practiced hard, they practiced long. We would have practiced longer if we had lights. But really, the kids deserve all the credit. They were fantastic. They make all of us feel younger when we coach them. They listened, they came, they wanted to win. And we were not the favorite to win this. We really weren't. We were undersized a little bit. We had some hurt kids. And they pulled together like only the Englewood Cliff Hall kids know how to do. And like I said, we could not be proud of every single one of these guys. Thank you. I think it was when my nephew
That's right.
played, which is I think 2007 was the last time we won a championship. So around here.
We have to get that board fixed at the field.
Yes, but around here, I mean, really, it's for bragging rights amongst a lot of local small towns. And for us to do what we did with the population that we have, I mean, it's all about the kids. They want to come, they want to play, they want to practice, and we need facilities to do that, period. We absolutely need that. Yes.
Yes. I think we should. I think we're going to take this and let the kids... Hold on 1 second. Wait. Yeah, it's a big deal.
They won 3 times before.
Oh,
Go do your homework.
Start working on Levy.
Okay, we're adding a few resolutions, so we'll have the Borough Clerk read those in now, so people could comment publicly.
Okay, during closed session, a few items were discussed. We are tabling to the October 11th meeting, Resolutions 170 and Resolutions 174. Again, we're tabling them to October 11th. We're also adding 3 resolutions. The first one
Let
is,
me correct you, we're adding 2.
okay, 2.
One is on there.
One is on there, but it's blank. So Resolution 176 that is on the agenda, it's authorize Borough Attorney to negotiate agreement for access and environmental testing for Block 601, Lot 7, and Block 601, Lot 8, and to share 1/3 costs for same with no, what does it say?
Obligation.
Obligations incurred to property owners Lee and Bendel
That's Pershing Road.
on Pershing Road. 177, authorize Borough Administrator to seek discovery records in pending litigation, and if necessary, Borough Attorney to seek court order to obtain same, U.S. District Court. And
Read it again.
I'll read it again. 177, authorize Borough Administrator to seek discovery records in pending litigation, and if necessary, Borough Attorney to seek court order to obtain same discovery records. 178, authorize Borough Attorney as counsel for Borough in the matter of Englewood Cliffs affordable housing, and to substitute Attorney Anne Marie Rizzuto. Okay?
Thank you. What I'd like to do next is, Andy's here. Andy Hippolyte is our borough engineer, keeping you busy these days. Can you just give us an update on the D3, the hearing that we had last week, the meeting that we had, and the status?
Just be brief. So I think, not to relive the whole history, you had a number of things that happened with the B3. You did a report, you had it, you sent it to your planning board, they looked at it, sent some comments to the resolution back to you. That instituted more conversation among the mayor and council, and instituted a public hearing, which was like 4 or 5 hours long. I think a lot's been done since the planning board looked at it, so I think your next step, in my opinion, is to have your body vote, if you so see so, to send it back to the planning board, have them relook at it, knowing all the other history that's happened since they looked at it the first time. They can advertise it, whether they should advertise it. They can make comments or not, and I think they have 40 days to make comments. And then eventually it comes back to you to then have your public meeting and advertise and either adopt it or not adopt it. I think that's where we are, in my opinion.
So thank you very much for doing that, for being here. We're not going to do anything else on that right now with you, so you're free to leave, or if you want to stay, you're welcome to stay.
Well, that means making the public.
Do you want to stay for the public portion?
Sure, let's say the public portion.
I have a feeling it'll come up.
Perfect.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the minutes of the caucus and regular meetings of August 9, 2017 were distributed. I assume everyone on council had an opportunity to review those. If they're acceptable, will somebody please make a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Thank you. There was some correspondence received since the last meeting. Will the Borough Clerk please reference those for us?
Correspondence received from the 200 Club recognition of our police officers. Eric Bernstein, privileged and confidential. He's a tax appeal attorney. Lauren Eastwood, resident, submitted 3 emails regarding 2 of them on 116 Pershing Road and the 3rd one on 25 Karen's Lane.
Thank you. We're going to talk about the payment of claims. Will our Finance Committee Chairperson please speak to that?
Sure, Mayor, thank you. I just want to make a motion for Resolution 17-164. I reviewed the bills, move that they be paid, and the total bill list, the total from the bill list is $5,413,900. $745.33.
We need a second.
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
Next up on the agenda are the department head reports for August 2017. They were sent to all the council members. Did anybody have any questions or comments? If not, we'll move on. Okay. At this point, I'd like to open up to the public. So I have a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to be heard, please come up to the microphone after I acknowledge you and state your name and address. Yes.
Hi, Debbie Fair, 4930 Million. I was not at the caucus, so I didn't hear the whole conversation, but I heard what Andy said. But just for clarification,
Can you get a little closer? It's not picking up.
Oh, sorry. Just for clarification, when you're voting to send this D3 zone issue back to the planning board, you're sending it back with no recommendation, like you're not sending it to the planning board as a rehabilitation zone, you're just sending it to the planning board to relook at the entire situation? Do I understand correctly?
Yes, you wanna-
Yeah, I made the motion just to update you. I asked the council their opinion, if they were in agreement, that given that we sent it to the planning board, they sent something back to us. We then had many discussions, and we had that, I thought, pretty productive meeting at Upper School. A lot of people got up and spoke, and I thought there's no harm to send it one more time back to the planning board, let them take a look again, given all the additional conversation that has been heard,
Okay,
and then come back to us again
okay.
before.
All right, so you're just sending it back?
It's a one more
blank, so to
time
speak.
thorough.
You're not sending it back with
One
any
more-
of your...
we want them to consider what was discussed
Right.
publicly last week.
And then come back to us.
Come back.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood completely.
Andy,
One
did you
more
want to
thorough
add
look
anything?
through.
Did you want to add anything to that?
One more thorough look through.
That's it?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. One more question, 26 John Englewood Cliff. I sent a letter to the mayor and council about a traffic light. I don't know if you people got it, but I mailed it to you with a letter, yeah.
No, I believe you, but
I didn't get it.
recently?
Do you have it here?
Oh, no, over 10 days ago.
Mm.
I didn't get it.
I didn't
All
get
right,
it.
I'll remail it.
Thank you.
It's from the commissioner of Jersey, where I called him to see if I can make a no turn on red on this here, because somebody's gonna get killed on my street. I mean, it's horrendous. It's gotten worse. They're going down that street at 70 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. You can't get out of your driveway. You can't put your garbage can out. That's what it is.
Well, I know you've mentioned the speed problem on your street before, and I've conveyed that to our chief of police.
I know that, but he doesn't want to do it, and I had my talk with Chief Chappie. That's his opinion, I had my opinion. We agreed to disagree. Something's going to have to be done, or somebody's going to get killed.
Yeah, just to be clear, I didn't convey anything regarding turning or not turning. I just mentioned the speed issue that you raised.
No, I did, and I raised the two issues. Because if they don't turn, you don't get the speeding issue.
Or you speak
They're all
faster to
coming
get
down.
that.
Look, there was a police officer behind me, I don't know who he was, behind me, and I stopped at the light, waiting for the light to change. Two cars passed me on their W with the red light. I mean, it's horrendous what's going on over there. He gave tickets, he took off after them. I mean, only a blind man doesn't know what's going on John Street. And I hear it's just as bad on Dillingham. So it's not just probably John, but...
John, Dillingham, Summit, Johnson.
That's all.
No,
South
it's okay,
Virginia.
but something has to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, we just can't say it's happening and nobody does anything. leaving that aside. I hear what you guys want to do in B3. I, of course, don't agree. But that's my opinion, I don't agree. But I've been told that I have something against Mr. Chaffee, which I don't. The only thing I have against Mr. Chaffee is the way he takes care of his buildings. What I did do is I got on the computer and pulled off the maintenance code of Englewood Cliffs. Can you give this, Andy, to the man? And what I also did, to make it simple, Andy, don't go away, I made everybody a copy, and I underlined it, so everybody could see what we're allowed to do in Englewood Cliffs and what we're not. Can you give that to each person?
I'm glad you stayed in.
Clerk in.
Stay there, don't leave, don't leave, my brother.
So you're that way. Case for that way.
Everybody gets a copy. Now, if you look on the top, Mr. Mayor, and people of the council, driveways, before you park, no person shall park any vehicle, residential or commercial zones, except on paved areas such as driveways and parking spaces. Look at the pictures. I don't mind giving somebody a break. You can't board up these buildings and paint them white and tell me that they're vacant. And because they're vacant, they're gonna steal the buildings. Our town looks like crap. Fix the windows. I'm not even asking to put no windows. Put a couple of panes in there. Paint the damn thing. Paint the fence. Not asking for the world. Instead of going to B3 zone, the man owns 7 buildings. Zone it. Give the guy a chance to build something. Not B3. I mean, the way you want to do it so we can get screwed with some housing or something on it. Give the guy a chance to build something.
Right, so those are two different issues, right? So property maintenance, this is something that we talk about every day, and we're trying to get,
It's not property maintenance, it's...
well, it is. It is property maintenance and what you can do with this property, or whoever owns it. So,
And if I may,
I was gonna ask Catherine.
well, I'm gonna ask Kathy, because she's been on this every day, and Mr. Morfett, as you know, that there are only certain things that we can do.
No.
Excuse me. I'm going to let the administrator
Good.
speak with you, because I check every day with the building department, and so does she. So
100%.
I'm gonna let her respond. And you did own many buildings yourself, right?
100%.
So you know,
100%.
Okay.
And I own many buildings now, and I know what they are. And I know how Hackensack does it, and I know how Dumont does it, and I know how Bergenfield does it. You don't empty a building and seal it for your own convenience.
I'm gonna let the administrator
And
respond.
if the fire department allows it to have water, gas, and electric on vacant buildings.
You know what, Mr. Morfett, this administration has done more in the last 6 months than ever. since
I will tell
25
you
years.
something.
And I wanna make
You
sure I
said
have
to
my
me,
mic on
you
for-
said to
for
me
that one, yeah.
that I did not give you the right respect. I believe that you guys have done a lot. I believe that you guys are trying to be transparent. I'm not interested in the police administration. That's dead. Gone. I'm interested here now. We are here now for this. If these are your codes, and this is what it says you're gonna do, I'm not interested in what's going on. Let's do it.
Let's let the administrator.
Administrator, tell me.
Catherine, would you?
I'm done.
All right, let us know.
As you know, this situation didn't begin overnight, none of this property maintenance has. But in fairness to the property owner, the building department has been working with him. You know, we don't want to be a hammer administration, but at the same time, you may recall you're at most of the meetings that we did increase the penalties for these types of violations in order for the ordinance to have some teeth. The prior ordinance really didn't have a financial tooth to it, so we did change that. But in fairness to this particular property owner that you're referring to, he has been working with the construction official to improve things. He has to get price estimates. to get things done. He has
I
made,
don't disagree with you.
right,
The only thing I'm disagreeing with you is the ceiling of the building.
all
They
right.
don't need to be sealed.
But he's, my understanding, well, yeah, if the windows are broken, I believe under the Boca code he has to
Why don't
seal
you fix
the
the
windows.
windows?
Well, that's something that's being worked out progressively on each property
What-
with
Why don't you read your code? And if you read your code says don't do it, fix it.
Well, your code does not supersede VOCA, so at this point, if he doesn't have the windows fixed, you cannot have windowless structure.
You're making the area look worse than the South Bronx. You
I'm not
understand that?
saying
It's
that we're
worse than
not
Newark.
gonna take.
Newark
No,
looks
correct.
good.
I'm not gonna argue the point with you, Tony, I'm trying to
Not
explain.
done, you're
to you.
right. I said what I had to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to be heard? Yes, sir.
My name is Andrew Stiver. I live at 750 Floyd Street, which is adjacent to Woody Field. So, because I live so close, I see things that are going on in Woody Field. And there's a problem that I've seen this last month. I've seen a young boy, about 13 years old, driving a dirt bike, motorized dirt bike, on Woody Field, going approximately 25, 30 miles an hour. And he does have a helmet, but I really believe that that's a danger to the young and the old on Woody Field. And dirt bikes are supposed to be driven in remote areas in the dirt, not on Woody Field. So if there is an ordinance against this, then it should be enforced. And if there's not an ordinance, then we should have one to protect the people who are walking around the field.
Did you call the police when you saw that?
What's that?
Did you call the police department when you saw that?
The police were there, I didn't call them, but they were there at one point, yes.
Okay. You're right, we should deal with that.
And there are many stories about different towns now, mayors talking about the problem of dirt bikes in Newark, Jersey City, different places. So it's a real problem. These are unlicensed motorized vehicles.
Yeah, I think there's ample state law that would restrict the use of those.
Okay. So I think you need to look at.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
And then, the next thing I just want to say about the Director of Public Safety, and I've said this before here, this community is a very small community. It's 5,281 population as of the last census. The crime rate is very low, and I just don't believe that we need a Director of Public Safety. I think that it would get in the way of the police department and their functioning. And in fact, you have not even said, you have talked about what this person will do, but you haven't even given us an idea of what the salary would be. Would it be $150,000? Would it be $200,000? I think it's important that we know what kind of salary we're talking about, because when we add people to this administration, we're adding the cost, and taxes are going to go up. And then the next thing is, your justification is that it's going to increase litigation. I don't think it will, and I fear that litigation might even go up because of having somebody else involved in public safety. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to be heard? Yes.
Service bar, when it's just calling it Avenue. I'd just like to confirm that you can speak again on the ordinance for the public safety director afterwards. Okay, so I'll take my comments back for The payment of claims of $5,413,000, is that normal? I mean, is there something out of the ordinary?
I brought it with me because I said the same thing to the administrator as soon as I had it. I think it was the way it all fell in 1 month. That was my first reaction when I
Do you
saw
want me
it.
just to cover the large ones?
Can you give that? I
Yeah.
appreciate that, yeah.
The reason why it looks abnormal is because we have a pass-through payments of school taxes as well as income taxes.
Okay.
So it blows up the number to an odd-looking number. So we have the school taxes, the open space taxes for the county, and the county taxes in there.
Okay, so that's what I read.
Yeah, so don't have to
Okay,
all
that's what I
one.
figured, one day.
So Catherine, just for the record, are we within budget in terms of what we're doing?
Yes, we're within
Yes,
budget,
everything's
but
fine.
we do have pass-through when we have to show it on payment of claims or our payments of our taxes.
The school tax.
Okay.
We added 178, which was to appoint, I'm not sure if I heard this right, you appointing Enering as the council COA,
Substituting in for the prior lawyers.
substituting in for the prior lawyer.
Yeah.
So that means you're now the current lawyer for COA litigation?
Yeah. Oh, well, no, I didn't do it yet. I got to,
Okay,
we're asking to authorize.
okay. Do we currently have litigation
Well,
that needs addressing?
well, we have affordable, we are part of the statewide filing. Yes, we have litigation and.
Carried over.
Right, I know it's carried on,
Yes.
but I also know that in Bergen County in general, they're really coming down on towns to start doing something about their co-obligations.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm asking is, are we currently looking at an issue in town?
Well, no, we're not looking at it. No, I mean, but
The whole thing.
it's on your, schedule for discussion, is it not?
Right, it's for
Okay.
Dorsey and Center.
You can go ahead.
Okay, so, I know about the litigation, Dorsey and Senna took it over from the prior attorney, who took it over from the prior attorney, it's been pending
Okay.
since 2015. We have a court date for a case management conference.
Okay.
So to do that, I have to be attorney of record,
Right.
so it's pretty standard.
Were you handling it for the prior council?
I-
Do you have experience?
I have
in COA?
experience in co-litigation, and I wasn't specifically handling Englewood Cliffs. Another attorney in my office was dedicated to the COA,
But you have experience?
but I have experience, many, many years in it, both when COA was active and in these affordable
Okay,
housing litigation.
okay.
I don't expect there to be a significant litigation in this, because we don't have any.
We all hope not, right?
Yeah, we don't have any developers suits against us. No
Okay.
developers are suing.
Okay. So my next question is, have we made any decisions as the mayor and council regarding the lease for the Lions Club?
No, there has been no decision on that. There's been some internal meeting with the Lions Club operators, but that is part of the plan that the borough already has. The planning board adopted, that's a borough property. So it could be subject to development for affordable housing. It's owned by the borough.
So does the planning board decide if we're going to renew the lease?
No, they do not.
Okay, so
No, they do
this
not.
mayor and council hasn't made a decision yet on the
No,
lease for the Lions Club?
no.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Dave Gregorio, once again, 155 Charlotte Place. I'd like to repeat my suggestion from before. I'd like to see the young students, I'd like to see a committee formed, a research committee, to find out and to research and to make recommendations to the council for Weed Field. I think that we could come up with something homegrown. That would be absolutely fantastic, probably much more unique than paying a lot of money from the outside. We could get some experts about drainage. We could find out in-house what would be the best. It would benefit the students. Engineering and design is something that is emphasized in schools now. It would give them an opportunity to contribute to their town at the earliest age. It would be a civic activity for them. We could involve the teacher, if the board would be amenable to that, the superintendent. We could involve experts in town, older experts in town. It's a beautiful thing to have young and old working together, coming up with something completely unique, completely different than what Tenafly has, than what all the other towns have, which is, at best, mediocre. Second thing I'd like to bring up is the public safety director. So I'd like to understand a little bit more about the history of all this, because you hear dribs and drabs of people being passed over for chief. Was anyone passed over for chief years ago? That might be causing animosity towards the present chief?
You're free to discuss.
Okay, I'm just
Keep
asking.
going, just keep
I'm
going.
asking.
Keep going. Well, by the way, let me just ask Catherine, do we have a drainage expert on staff? It's a certified drainage expert that Mr. DiGregorio thinks that we might have on staff?
Well, there might be
We don't,
some.
but our superintendent serves in all our drainage issues before we then outsource it to the engineer, should it be beyond his capacity. He's certified.
There could very well be some engineers in town. I'm sure that there could be some engineers in town that would be willing to at least put their opinion in the pot. So my question is, trying to get to the root of this public safety position that's being created. There is a quote here, which I'll read in a second. But I would just like to find out the root cause, or the root, where did this come from? Why would the mayor say, which I don't think was all that appropriate, we have essentially a dysfunctional police department right now. This is from Northern Valley. We have an essentially dysfunctional police department right now, and I don't have any confidence in the senior leadership. I can't quite understand the mayor saying that about his own police department. So I'd like to find out a little bit more. What is the root of this animosity? Was it Ms. McMurrow, Councilman McMurrow? Was it your husband that was passed over years ago on being chief? Is that what the problem is here? I'd like to get to the root.
Look, you want to attack me every meeting.
I'm not attacking.
It's okay.
I'm not attacking.
It's
Carol,
fine, I have...
honestly,
It's okay.
I think
It's
it's
all right.
good.
It's okay.
It's good
It's
for
okay.
us to get to the bottom.
There is no bottom. You want to create this story.
No, well,
Yeah.
okay, so, all right, so I just want to know if there's any validity to the rumors that I've
There is
heard.
no validity. You've asked me this repeatedly, and I've told you that there are none. But if you want to keep defaming me,
I'm
and
not,
my
I'm
husband,
not. Oh,
and my
absolutely
family,
not.
go right ahead.
No, I'm not.
So rather than attacking people, just attack the issue. Okay?
No, I'm actually
Go
trying
ahead.
to get to the root
Go
cause
ahead.
of the purpose of this public safety. Now,
Right, but you're parroting what you've been told by others, and
Well-
that makes you a parrot, okay, not a thinker.
A parrot.
If you're going to deal with issues, deal with issues,
Thank you,
okay?
thank you, Mr. Mayor, I will make note that I will.
Don't attack people, attack issues.
Do you have any crackers for me? Okay.
Tic Tac. You said it, I didn't say that.
No. I'm perfectly, listen,
Go ahead.
I'm the first one to make.
So you want our children to do excavation work?
No.
Now, what else do you
No,
want?
you misunderstand
What else do you
me
want?
again. No, please, don't twist my words. I'm saying we form a committee and we have people sitting around the table, and we brainstorm and come up with something that's really innovative, okay? That's all. Give our kids a chance to participate in government and participate in bettering their community. What better lesson could we do as council people? I think it's an excellent
Listen,
suggestion.
I thought
If you
Mazer
want to
Consulting-
mock my suggestion, you can mock it.
I thought Mazer Consulting came up with a very fine solution to our
Let
issues.
me continue. First of all, I think we have a very fine police department that is not dysfunctional, number one.
Right,
And
because
number two,
most police departments have 8 lawsuits involving police.
okay,
Since you came, oh my God.
okay.
You could come to the microphone, but you have to raise your hand.
All right, and there was another quote in there, which was, Billy, I'm not picking on you, please believe me, I'm not. I'd like to understand it more. I think, the position would enhance the borough's management team with this position, the borough's management. I'm getting the quote, I think, wrong, but I'd like to understand more what management is necessary. Why does the council feel that they have to manage the police department when we have a chief that's managing the police department that seems very, very well and not dysfunctional? And yes, there are lawsuits, but one of the reasons for those lawsuits, that's why it was brought up before. Maybe somebody in the past got passed over, maybe there's a root clause there, maybe there's some buried animosity that needs to be brought out into the open so we can solve this. That's all.
You're just repeating yourself now. Can you move forward?
I certainly can move
Thank you.
forward. Do I have any more good, wonderful suggestions? Probably not tonight. I'll save them for another time. But, Mr. Mayor, I would say that the comments that I made on the article regarding the Chiaffi properties that was recently published, and I totally agree with the comment before, from the good man before. I don't know what's going on, but I think we should start issuing some tickets, and I think we should really make it public. You've got a property, keep it up. If there's financial problems, okay, let's take that into consideration. But get the property cleaned up. I don't know what the big deal is, and I don't know why we have to go through this whole redoing a B3 zone. I think that and I'll tell you, quite honestly, I know that you have no jurisdiction over it, but the biggest blight in this whole town, the biggest blight in the B3 zone, are the power lines and the telephone poles. That's what the biggest, when you look up, it looks like a mess up there. But if the town starts by putting new sidewalks in, making it more attractive, the towns do what they can do, other people will follow. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. We just need to enforce the laws. So let's get those tickets, write those tickets, condemn the building if you have to, and move on from there.
Look, I agree with you on the wires. They are unsightly, but that's the way it
I know
is.
it's out
We
here.
can't bury those wires. We'd be blasting $1 million every 100 feet.
I realize that.
You know, so maybe we just have to wait for wireless electrical transmission.
No, but we could do what was done overseas, and we could contact the utility companies and say that we are more than willing to serve our town, serve as a pilot project for putting these utilities underground. We are a vulnerable town, as was seen in Sandy. All of these, it's like your nervous system on top of your body. If your nervous system is on top of your body, it's going to go wrong. That's our nervous system. All the utilities, all the electricity going through town is exposed to wind, to weather. Let's get the president of PSC&G, let's invite him here, and let's say, look, we'll work with you, and let's do something different, progressive in this town. Okay, thank you very much.
Anybody else? Yes.
Karen Geiger, 270 Alfred. I just have one comment to David, actually, on the untightening wires. To my experience, when new streets have been constructed, the wires have gone underground, been able to slip. I know because I live on one of those new streets back 35 years ago. So, just for the record. I have two short questions. One of them is on Resolution 171 with FCA Realty. As some of you know, I appeared at the planning board meeting because I was very concerned about the condition of that property. I've waited patiently for many, many months. I believe this particular resolution was adopted by the planning board almost a year ago, at least 6 months ago. I also noticed that developers' agreements are now coming to the mayor and council for for approval and signature. And to my recollection, they go to the borough attorney for review, and this one in particular is signed by Mrs. McMorro. I don't know why Mrs. McMorro versus the mayor, but what I'm trying to understand is in the past, developers' agreements were approved by the council to the planning board, because it was the planning board council who sat through the entire process of reviewing what happened at the planning board, and who best checked the developer's agreement for consistency with the resolutions that attorney actually authored. So I'd like to know when the procedure was changed, did the council vote, and I'd like to know when, to change that procedure, and why was it done?
Okay, so Ms. Geiger, I'll address, I don't know what the procedure was before. This is the first one that I've handled in the 2 months that I'm here as borough attorney, as well as the 6 months when I was with Dorsey Center. However, in my experience, developers' agreements are not authorized under the municipal land use law. In fact, the planning board should not even be a party to developers' agreements. I've had this discussion. However, just to assure you, this developers' agreement, because it had a litigation behind it and 3 planning board resolutions, all of which I read very carefully and incorporated into the developers' agreement that I did negotiate with the developers' attorney. But to put your fears, allay your fears, this developers' agreement was in fact requested by the planning board resolution and is going to be a signatory to, they are directly a party, and their attorney did review it before sending it to the borough. But the correct procedure is, the planning board has no authority whatsoever to enter into a developer's agreement. It is the council that is supposed to enter into a developer's. They can recommend one. They can recommend, we think you should have a developer's agreement, but they're not supposed to enter into one.
Well, developers' agreements are usually done, or at least in my experience, have been done for major projects.
Right.
Such as LG.
Right.
I guess this one now becomes a major project. I'm not sure why this particular one has that classification. It's not of the size or magnitude of LG.
Right.
But I'd like to know when that procedure has changed, because I have been attending many planning board meetings, and I've also attended many, too many, mayor and council meetings, and I don't remember that authority being brought back, whether it's correct or not,
Okay, so,
to the mayor and
If
council. So
someone-
I would appreciate that position be voted on by the council.
No.
It is to be voted on.
no.
You don't have to vote
I'm
on the
sorry.
mayor and council.
Wait.
Mrs. Geiger, in my experience in all my years, and I did defer this to the borough attorney's office, no developer's agreements is done at the planning board.
Never.
It's supposed to be done by the mayor and council. So if the procedure changed from the history of this borough, then I'm the one who changed it, because I deferred it to council, because it has to be voted on by the mayor and council. It wasn't deferred by me.
I'm glad to hear that, but can you please tell me why this particular one has taken so long?
It hasn't taken long, ma'am. It was last approved by the planning board in December. I got it,
We only got it,
December was the last planning board resolution, last December. I got it about a month and a half ago.
Right, I might be able to do that too. So the developer's attorney and their engineer was coordinated with our office on compliance with the resolution in the developer's agreement.
Right.
And outside of their approval, they were trying to fight items that the board approved, and we wouldn't pass it to our office because it said it doesn't need the board's approval, and it took them, the developer, 6 months to
Yeah.
agree. And that's
Yeah,
their fault.
and so you are aware.
It will be done tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, but just so you also understand, it wasn't this agreement or this project.
No.
This happens to be the first one that came across, Ms.
So
Steiner.
the prior one was LG.
Excuse me, excuse
The
me.
prior one was LG.
No, you're not correct, because I signed the prior one, and it was not LG.
Oh.
So there was another one, and I'm sorry, but there were more.
I'm happy to be corrected.
Okay, there were more, and if the
It's
past
okay,
administration didn't do it correctly, we are correcting it now. All right? So those are things that I know that, that some of the things that were
So it
taken
is
care of.
being done tonight, and the Jeep dealership will be built?
Well, we put to a vote, Ms. Geiger, so when we put it to a vote, you'll see however my colleagues vote.
I'm sure. Okay.
Unless you know how they vote already.
No, I don't know how they vote, Ms. McMorro, perhaps you know how you vote.
Then I don't know, no, I know how I vote. Okay? That's all I'm
Let's
concerned.
go on.
Can you
I
not
don't want to
bring-
quibble with
I don't know why you're bringing us into a
She is-
conversation.
she's asking me how
This
it's
is
gonna
public
go,
comment
and,
period. Good. Ms. Geiger has the floor, everybody. Please let her speak.
Thank you. A small item, an Oprah request. I submitted an Oprah request to this borough on August 26th. Oprah requests by state law have to be responded to within 7 business days. It is now the 13th of September. I was told that the borough would respond to me by the 29th. On the 29th, I was told that it went to council for review. Let me clarify, I am asking for a copy of the mayor's email to the Bergen Record, which formed the basis of their reporting of his comments. This is a public document. There is nothing whatsoever that is privileged in that document. And I want to know why our tax dollars are being wasted going to a borough attorney to review what is obviously a public document, not subject to redaction, not subject to withholding. It was something from the mayor to a public entity, the Bergen Record. Thank you.
That's
Can I
not a
respond?
public entity.
To an entity that reports to the public.
Thank you.
They have
Thank you.
no
Is
privilege.
anybody else that
Is
would
what's
be
the
heard?
answer? Am I
Yes.
receiving that?
You signed
Where
off.
is it?
Yes.
Where is it?
Where's the answer?
Where's my answer?
You don't get an answer.
Why not?
Why not? Why is the
Because this
borough
is your
attorney-
chance to say what you said. You
Why
said
is
it,
the
now,
borough
now
attorney-
Ms.
I am
Eastwood.
trying to avoid a lawsuit.
Your time has run out. Your time has run out. Thank you.
Of course.
Take a seat.
What else is new?
Thank you for your comments and your feelings.
Sharon Eastwood, 4 Railroad Drive. I'm here tonight to discuss something I really wish I didn't have to discuss. I don't need the peanut gallery. It involves certain persons receiving favorable treatment by virtue of their not being required to comply with our ordinances. This is a particularly sore point with me. That's why I got involved politically, because the building department seems to have a habit under the prior administration of not enforcing the ordinances for certain individuals, regardless of the impact that might have on their neighbors. There is a property at 116 Pershing Road, which is owned by Councilwoman Clark's husband, which has a non-conforming building on it. Under our ordinances, when you cannot extend or alter a non-conforming building without a variance. This building in particular requires 3 variances. It requires a side lot variance, it requires a combined side lot variance, and it requires a coverage variance. But somehow, it was given a building permit to expand without any of those variances. And this is a sore point for me, because I had spent $20,000 in engineering fees because my next door neighbor got a series of building permits for a non-conforming lot without variances, and it got noticed to me, and it severely affected the drainage on my property. The other incident was one of our city council members built a new house. Now, most people who have built houses in Englewood Cliffs have their site plans and their as-built plans reviewed by the borough engineer at their own expense. And under the prior engineer, I understand that expense would be considerable. Councilman Aversa, this didn't happen. And he lives next to a stream, his property is next to a stream, so it seems to me it would be particularly important because of the potential impact on waterways. Every resident of this town should be treated the same. Every resident of this town should have to abide by our ordinances. There should be no favoritism, no favorites, but it seems to be happening under the old building department. This is incredibly unfair to everyone. It is unfair to the neighbors who were denied notice, as I was, of this building, and who might want to object. If I had a building 3.5 feet from the property line, I'd probably want to object to the expansion of that building. It's unfair to the taxpayers who potentially face selective enforcement and God only knows what other lawsuits when some people have to obey the law and some people don't. And it's fundamentally unfair to all of those residents on whom the building department enforced the rules, who had to go to the planning board to get a variance, who had to hire a lawyer, who had to hire experts, who had to incur the delays, the costs, and the potential for being turned down, the conditions that are imposed. It's not fair, and I really think it's disgraceful that two of the people who are supposed to be making laws, treating everybody fairly, are sitting up here having received favors.
Any comment, Mayor? I'd like to comment.
One second. Can I just state that the correspondences were received and the borough administrator has requested an investigation. I would caution, you council members can speak on their own, but I would prefer that there not be a discussion back and forth because the matter is still being, we just received it, it's being
We received it this week, and I'll state for the record that I reserved any comment on it, other than to ask Catherine to have our construction code official look into it and come back with a report. What I'll say is that, yes, all our laws, all our ordinances, everything should apply equally to everyone. Those days are over, okay? Yes, Mr. Versa.
I think it should be over. I think we should be always 100% the same for everyone. So,
the prior days are over.
I'm used to this because it's the second time in a row that I'm running for council that Ms. Eastwood has brought up a silly complaint once again. I just want a little record for everyone to understand. When you sit as an elected official, we are not allowed to use our professionals to do our inspection. We have to go to outside towns. For my building, I had to use Alpine's inspectors. So, I don't know what she's talking about, to be in all fairness. I don't know what you're talking about, engineer. I paid the DEP several thousands of dollars to get approval to build on that property. Believe me, everything was done exactly the way it was supposed to be done. This is just another political stunt by Ms. Eastwood, who's the financial chair for their party. And it's the second time now. Second time. The last time was on a tax appeal by an owner previous to the property I even purchased. So, I'm used to it, Ms. Eastwood. Don't worry about it. You don't ruffle my feathers. You don't rattle me. I actually kind of laugh at what you do. It's just a silly thing. Everyone, the mayor's absolutely right. Everyone should be held to the same standards. And I believe I was, and I believe I complied. So we're not talking, you had your turn. You had your turn. Alpine was responsible, I believe, for my construction. If you have a problem, take it up with them. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to comment?
Addressed to me.
Is there any? I'm sorry?
Can I speak, please?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to tell everyone that I began my project in October of 2016, before I became, a council person. I had architectural plans drawn, everything was submitted, all fees were paid, I passed all inspections, I think all the inspections were done by Tenafly, other than maybe perhaps one. But just to let you know, I don't know if you've been into my house, but there's a lot of people from town who've been to my house, and I am not building a new house. It's my old house that I'm gutting and renovating. I'm not building out, I'm not extending anything, so as far as variances, I don't need one, okay? Secondly, I know that my house renovation is being under review. Once we get the findings, I want it on the record, I want it in public, and if it comes back that there was no wrongdoing on my part, that you're trying to tell the public that I did, I want a public apology from you, Mr. Eastwood, because you've been constantly harassing me, and you harassed me at the last meeting, and I'm honestly, I'm tired of it. And if they come back with the findings that there was no wrongdoing on my part, I want you to publicly apologize at the next meeting.
Okay, that's enough. Okay.
You actually have to speak.
Yeah, you're out of order.
Okay, is there anybody else that wishes to be heard? Okay, I don't see anybody. Can we have oh, yes.
I'm Mary O'Shea, 12 Irving Avenue. In 1985, I was the secretary for the Board of Adjustment, and the Board of Adjustment took care of variances, side yard variances, and different things, zoning issues. I subsequently, a few years later, I served a 4-year term on the Board of Adjustment, and now I am on the Planning Board. And I take issue with the fact, with what Ms. Eastwood said, because I've always followed the rules. And one of the reasons I became a Republican was because I saw the Democrats always getting away with things and not following the rules. If I want to cut a tree down, I call up the environmental inspector and have them come and approve and give me a permit to cut a tree down. Members of the planning board, previous members of the planning board, cleared whole pieces of property of trees with no permit. Mr. Chiappi's property behind the building where CC Construction is, they've been cutting trees down without permits. When the steakhouse, when Mr. Marinuzzi was involved in the steakhouse, they extended their front porch like 4 feet toward the highway. They did it on a Sunday afternoon, and their sign now was halfway behind the extension on the porch. There was no permit there. CC Construction, the building that Marinuzzi vacated when he moved into the office building, owned by Chiappi, they closed in the porch. They put in a wood burning or some kind of a chimney fireplace thing in there. I've repeatedly seen these types of things happen, and it's upsetting. I got a variance when I renovated my house in the late 80s. I expanded and gutted my house and made it bigger. I went to the board and I applied for a variance because I needed a side yard variance because my property was 50 foot wide and I had 12 and a half feet on each side. So in order to make the garage into the house, I had to have a side yard variance. I applied for, paid all the fees, got a variance, got my building permit, my CO, everything. My grandmother's house on 3rd Street was 45-foot lot, 45 by 100. I was always advised by Mr. Marinuzzi that if that house was destroyed, you could only build it on the original footprint because it's a non-conforming lot and the house could not be built, you could not build another house on the property. I bought 5 feet from the next door neighbor for $75,000 to make my lot conforming. All right, so if your lot, Ms. Park, is a non-conforming lot, any addition to that house, any work on that house, expanding it, sideways, backwards, you needed to go before the planning board because you cannot make those alterations to a property on a non-conforming lot. That's, again, it's not, it's wrong, okay? And somebody looked the other way, I don't know what happened, it shouldn't have been done. And, these things have been happening repeatedly through the years, okay?
She said she didn't.
I didn't extend, it's the same footprint.
Excuse me.
But it's a non-conforming
Citizen
lot.
is speaking.
If you do something to it, you need to get it approved. And the same way, there's 3 family houses on my
Please-
street.
please let the
okay,
residents
which
speak.
the previous building inspector would go to, and it was not supposed to be a 3-family house, supposed to be a 2-family house. Another property owned by the same owner renovated the properties, another supporter, and put up decks and porches and pavement, okay? Anything goes if you're on the right team, okay? And that's why it's wrong.
Anybody else wish to be heard? Can I have a motion to close the public portion, please? All in favor?
And if other people don't...
All in favor?
All in favor, please.
All in favor of closing? I only got 2 ayes, we're not...
I made the motion.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
I'm not dealing with that right now. I'm dealing
Thank you.
with...
Uh,
What about them?
What about me?
Hey,
Come
folks,
here, Mary, you can
folks,
talk to me.
all right.
I sat down.
No, we're not doing this, guys. We're going to continue our meeting. Council members, I admonish you guys to just listen and stop picking fights with the audience, please.
I'm just following your lead, man.
Yeah.
You're the king of that.
All right, we're up to resolutions. Resolution? No, we're fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. You and David going out for a drink? Yeah, so resolutions, we have 165 through 178. We've eliminated or tabled, rather, 170 and 174. And I am recused on 171. So, Madam Clerk, the floor is yours.
Resolution 165, approve velocity bike run through Englewood Cliffs. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
166, award bid to Nature's Choice for disposal of leaves. I need a motion and a second.
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
167, accept community night out donations. Motion and a second.
So moved.
Aversa? Councilpersons Aversa? E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
168, approve release of maintenance bond for 21 Sylvan Avenue. Motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
169, appoint alternate public defender. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
170 is tabled to October 11th. 171, I need approved developers agreement for FCA Realty 100 Sylvan Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Note the mayor's recused on that.
Yes. Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
172, award bid for emergency medical services. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
173, authorized submission of NJDOT grant application. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa,
Yes.
E. Park.
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro.
Yes.
M. Park.
Yes.
Woo. 174 is tabled till October 11th. 175, authorized sale of borough vehicle at public auction. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa,
Yes.
E. Park.
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro.
Yes.
M. Park. Woo.
Yes.
176, approval of Pershing Road agreement for testing and access, and I will read again what I read earlier. Authorized for Borough Attorney to negotiate agreement for access and environmental testing for Block 601, Lot 7, and Block 601, Lot 8, and to share one-third cost of same within the, with no litigation with current property owners Lee and Bendel.
No further obligation.
No further obligations, I'm sorry.
I second that.
Okay, that was O and Aversa. Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O?
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
Okay, let me just flip over, give me 1 second. Resolution 177, authorize Borough Administrator to seek discovery records in pending litigation if necessary, and Borough Attorney to seek court order to obtain same. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Councilpersons Aversa?
No.
E. Park?
No.
O?
No.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo?
Yes.
Mayor, it's a tie.
Yes.
Resolution 177 passes. Resolution 178, appoint Borough Attorney as counsel for the borough in the matter of, I don't know what that says, regarding Englewood Cliffs Affordable Housing COLA.
So moved. Second.
Councilpersons Aversa,
Yes.
E. Park,
No.
O.
No.
McMorro,
Yes.
M. Park,
Yes.
Woo,
Yes.
it passes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is a public hearing on ordinance 17-12, an ordinance amending the code of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs to add new provisions to create the position of Public Safety Director.
Discussion?
Yes.
I asked the Borough Attorney several times as to whether Councilwoman McMorro should be recused from this. I haven't had anything in writing, but I'm going to ask our Borough Administrator, should Councilwoman McMorro be sitting in on this discussion and voting on this?
That's a legal
Should she be
conclusion.
recused?
We have Borough Council's opinion.
I think the borough attorney really should issue a legal opinion on this.
Councilman Aversa, you're asking a non-attorney to issue a legal opinion, and under New Jersey law, that's not permitted. So
So I'll ask council again. She should not be voting on this. I don't
Okay.
understand how you could still allow it to happen.
I have opined in the past that Councilwoman McMorro is not required to be recused on general legislation involving the police department. That's my opinion. She does not have a conflict of interest. I'm uncertain why you think she has a conflict of interest.
I think anybody who has brought issues against the police or has that, I think they should step aside. I just think that's it. If it's not,
Anyone?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a lot of people with issues with the police department.
Well, not those who have brought them up on charges, or I'm not sure.
All right, so before we sink into the black hole here, can I have a motion to open to the public? Got a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so the floor is open to the public to come up and speak to the ordinance and the ordinance only that's being proposed. Please raise your hand. if you wish to speak. Yes, sir. Come to the microphone, state your name and address.
My name is Arthur O'Keefe. I'm a resident of Berkshire Place, a resident of the Cliffs for the past 30+ years. I'm also the former police chief in the city of Englewood. I'm also the former PBA president of the Englewood PBA. And I'm also the person, probably the only person in this room that's worked under a public safety director in Englewood Institute back in the late 1970s and early 1980s. And I have some questions with respect to the implementation of this ordinance. As this gentleman had said earlier this evening, I'm a bit concerned as a taxpayer that we're engaging in putting another level of bureaucracy into the police department for a department the size of 23 officers. I know that there has been some contentious relationships with the current police chief. I've read in the newspaper and refrained from getting involved in questioning that. The police chief is capable of defending himself. But absent any type of non-feasance or malfeasance, or any type of conduct that would lead to disciplinary action and termination on the part of the police chief, I fail to understand the basis of this position, which is in essence a civilian position with no law enforcement authority and no statutory support, what the purpose of this is, and maybe you can help me about that.
Well, I've gone through this before, sir, and I thank you for your comments, and they were quite eloquent. Back in July, I listed a whole litany of reasons that, quite frankly, I could get into tonight to some degree, but I'm not going to repeat them all. We have had, in my 18 or 19 months of being mayor, we've had outrageous displays of behavior from our police officers in terms of coming to that microphone that you're at, saying that they feel unsafe in their workplace, and looking at me to do something about it. And then I say, well, look, the chief is responsible for your safety. So then the allegations go further. They say, well, one of our officers, one of our brothers, was swinging a 6-foot harpoon knife over his head in police headquarters. And I heard that a few times, and then I saw it in a litigation. They actually wrote this in a litigation where they're alleging that a fellow officer is swinging a knife. Now, you as a law enforcement individual can certainly appreciate if somebody's doing that anywhere, they're probably going to get arrested, let alone in a police department. And if it happens in a police department, there should be some proof of it. Okay? Next allegation was that one of our brothers is falling asleep at the computer. We suspect him of drug use. Okay. Well, did you test him for drugs? No. Well, why not? It's your obligation to do that, as I understand it, statutorily, to test that person for drugs. So the litany goes on and on and on. We've had lots of issues. We have lots of litigations. We have one litigation, sir, where one officer says, I'm suing the other guy because he made me cry. I mean, this doesn't make sense in a well-run police department. You read about it. I live it. And I'm not living it anymore until we get it under control. So the one thing I've always said since day one is take the politics out of the police department. When your officers come to work, they're on duty. That's it. There's no room for anything else. And I suspect that you probably ran a very well-run organization.
Well, with all due respect, Mayor, having a public safety director inserts a level of political interference within the police department. That's not necessary. And all of us can muddy the waters.
Okay, well,
my experience that in having a chain of command that's clearly delineated precludes further litigation by placing a public safety director into office over the police chief. All that does is going to create a different conflict, and it's going to force the litigation. It's not going to prevent it. Now, I can tell you from experience that that is the case.
We've tried many solutions.
The police department, by its nature, has to be apolitical. It cannot have politics. It has to be objective. It has to be
I agree with you.
It has to treat everyone fairly.
We don't have that here. We absolutely do not have that here, sir. And I respect your comments, but I'm not going to live this way for another, number of years where we have essentially an extension of a political party running our law enforcement, okay? That is the truth of the matter. And, just to get to the PBA, these are young professionals with careers that really are subject to the whims of their senior leadership, okay? And I won't tolerate for people and their families to be subjugated to that kind of behavior. I want people to come to work in this borough, do their jobs, and feel good about their jobs. They get paid well, they get their benefits, and I don't want them to have to worry about the political whims of who you should do a favor for or who you shouldn't do a favor for. And I'm going to reiterate this with a perfect example for you, because I didn't mention this in July, but 2 days before the July meeting, actually 3 days, it was 9 p.m. on a Sunday. Okay, I'm going to read my notes to you. At about 9 p.m. on July 9th, my phone rang, and it was one of the 3 representatives. It's a Sunday night, 9 p.m. One of the 3 representatives of the Englewood Cliffs Police Department bargaining unit calling me. I asked if there was an emergency. After all, it was Sunday night. He said no emergency. He asked me if I would be willing to meet with them, the PBA. I said, of course. He asked me when. I said, right now. Right now. I'll stop what I'm doing, and I'll come out and meet you. He said that would be too soon. We arranged to meet 2 days later at a private location because they could not be seen with me in public. Big problem. It sounds pretty silly, but the PBA fears that they cannot meet with their mayor in public or at Borough Hall. So I wondered what or who they are afraid of. In the spirit of meeting and addressing the problems we have at the Englewood Cliffs Police Department, I met privately with Officers Lee and Roms in their official capacities as representatives of the PBA. They did not disagree with me that there are problems with the Englewood Cliffs Police Department in their leadership and in their relationship with the borough's government. But they seem to feel their hands are tied because of the department's leadership, or lack thereof. So I felt more right than ever about having a public safety director and untying their hands. So there's basically 2 PBAs. There's the one that comes in here in a phalanx with their T-shirts, flexing their muscles, trying to intimidate us on behalf of their leadership. And then there's the other one that's basically crying out for help. And I'm offering them that. And if you're going to tell me I'm wrong, you're free to do that. But then I'm going to tell you, you're very wrong, sir.
Well, I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I'm here to tell you that public safety director is not working. It's been tried throughout Bergen County and it's failed in Bergen County. I can also tell you that despite your contention that the PBA says that, it's my understanding that the PBA filed a civil rights lawsuit against the governing body.
Right, it was dismissed last week, sir, so thank you for bringing that up. I'll also bring one other note, fact point for you. In 2006, I believe, the current senior leadership supported a public safety director. There was a resolution of the council sitting then, an ordinance actually, approving a public safety director. So I'm not doing anything new here. It's just that...
I know you're not doing anything new, I understand that. I'm just here to tell you that my experience has been, and the experience of other police chiefs throughout Bergen County has been, that this is a failed policy, and it's not something that I feel taxpayers of Englewood Cliffs should have to support with a 23-man police department because you have a contentious relationship with your police chief.
Thank you. You're not going to change my mind, sir. In fact, no one in this room is going to change my mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark.
Anybody else?
Mark, can you check that microphone? It's not picking up, it's fine. Thank you. He speaks very low.
Yes, anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes. You know what, you guys decide, you say the same thing, so you pick one.
I'm the parrot here.
Karen Geiger, 270 Alfred. I've spoken before adamantly against the creation of the public safety director position. But before I speak again on that subject, I'd like to shed some light on two of the comments that the mayor just made addressing Mr. O'Keefe. One of them was that a police officer came to a meeting alleging that there was a 6-foot harpoon and that found its way into the litigation. And the other is that some other officer was found doing drugs or had drug use, whatever.
No, he was never found doing it. It was alleged.
He was alleged to have been found at his desk with some suspicion of having drugs. He was asleep. Whatever the specific, I'm not going to quibble with the wording of that comment.
Go on.
We can each go to the litigation itself, and it is there. The comment I want to make is how those two comments were made. Those were made by the entire PBA when they came in March to say that they had a problem in their midst, and they feared for their safety, and you, Mr. Mayor, said, put on your orange safety vests. That was your response to them. This was
No,
the
well,
entire
just
PBA.
as your eye on the cliffs mistakes everything, is full of lies, you're again not stating it correctly, so...
Really? Okay,
Go ahead.
This is my opportunity.
Be more profound than
This is-
usual. Come on, I'm encouraging you to be honest here for once.
I am always honest, Mr. Mayor. Let's go on. And the officer who
I'm
you
encouraging you,
said-
come on. Find it within yourself, Karen, to be honest, at least once.
It's Mrs. Geiger to you, not Karen.
Come on, Karen. Where's Marty, by the way? I haven't seen him in a while.
My husband works.
Thank you.
I thought you weren't supposed to pick fights with the
And,
audience.
let's go on. You were joining this on class.
Go ahead. We're having fun, right?
No, we're not having fun. This is really serious.
Go ahead.
And you make a mockery of the public when we try to state what we believe is going on in this town and why we believe that you and the council should think twice before you vote to establish this position. And I want to correct the comment that you made out of context about the officer who said he made me cry. This officer was Lieutenant Tracy, and it was part of his countersuit against the borough, responding to Deputy Chief McMorrow's suit personally against him, where he accused him of defaming him, where he accused Tracy of defaming him, because in his deposition, where he acted as an officer of the borough, in a deposition in the McMorrow versus Englewood Cliffs lawsuit, in December of 2015, I believe, the Lieutenant Tracy alleged that he had been the victim of homophobic slurs by Deputy Chief McMorrow. So let's put in the full context of these before you demean an officer by taking a half of a sentence in a litigation that's pages long. And each of you should read those litigations as I have. Now, as far as the PBA filed suit. Whether it was dismissed or not, I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you it was.
Well, I have yet to see what's going to happen. Suits are dismissed, and they come right back. So they're dismissed on individual items.
Listen, I'm sure you have the inside track, but right now it's
It depends
dismissed.
why they were
Listen to the
dismissed
tape.
and what the comments were made, and since I'm not privy to that, I'm not going to comment on it. The public safety director. The public safety director adds a level of bureaucracy to a very small department. It also, as far as I am concerned as a resident, still threatens my privacy. When I look at the duties and responsibilities of the public safety director, on page 1, you state that the public safety director shall respond to shall respond to any police, fire, school, and/or community emergency or disaster. That's, page 2, paragraph 2.31.4, under duties, functions, and responsibilities. I would like to know how the public safety director is supposed to be alerted to each of these fire, police, school, or community emergencies and disasters. Is this an obligation of the chief of police to alert him as he's on his way to handle it? Is it a responsibility of the fire department, as they're the ones that are called? Is it a responsibility of our emergency ambulance services who are under contract? That just isn't very clear, and I fear that this person may have access to police-restricted band radios, and I don't want that out there to a layperson who is not a member of the police.
You know what's really funny about that is the former mayor was given a police band
I'm not
radio
talking
by the
about
chief.
the past.
I didn't want one.
You're having a good time.
Yeah,
talking
because
about
it's
the
silly.
past. I am talking about the present, and I am talking about my concern as a
The former mayor has a police radio, and you think that's okay?
I wasn't here when the former mayor got his radio. I
Yes,
don't
you
know
were.
if he has one or wasn't.
You were there. You know what I said? I don't want one. You know why? Because I'm not in operations.
Excuse me, this is my turn to speak, not yours.
That's
As you
right.
so
I think that-
very often tell me. Now, the other items.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Public portion to speak.
Go
My
ahead.
time. The
Right.
rest of the items on the resolution oversees the hiring, supervision, training, and discipline of all members and all employees of the public safety entities. Let's understand, there's only one public safety entity. It's the police department. Number 2, keeps track of necessary training and certification requirements. Is there a problem with that I'm not aware of? Are our police not certified? Is there a problem with their certification that somebody else has to keep these records in addition to the chief of police? Provide supervision over all criminal internal affairs and disciplinary investigations. We went through this with the borough attorney a few months ago. Internal affairs and disciplinary investigations are the privilege of the police department. They are not outside files. That's the guideline. So I want to know what role this person is going to have, and does he have access? Allocates reviews and allocates resources accordingly. Let's see, what else is in here that's problematic? Represents the public safety entities to other departments and officials. Does that mean that he goes out there instead of the chief of police if there's a police emergency? In terms of explaining the role of the borough, responds to and resolves difficult and sensitive citizen inquiries and complaints, explains, justifies, and defends the policies and programs. If I, as a resident, have a complaint with a police officer, I file a complaint, and it becomes an internal affairs investigation. Why is this other individual getting involved? Okay. And then it goes on and on.
We're not gonna-
My bottom line is, we don't need this. It's an intrusion into our police department. It is set up to micromanage the police department. It serves no purpose in our town, and it is not a budgeted position. And also, I think it's irresponsible of you to not disclose to the public what you expect to pay. If you are going to have this ordinance established, and you are going to invite people to submit their resumes to respond to this job, you have to have some idea what you're paying. So it makes no sense that you are not doing that. It's irresponsible, and it doesn't give a sense to the person who might apply, unless you already have somebody in mind, and have had those negotiations, who knows, what they could expect in this position. And by the way, this is probably the most political position, despite the comments, that one could set up. A position that reports to the mayor and works at the behest of the mayor and council, subject to the pleasure of the mayor and council, to be discharged from his job at the determination of the mayor and council, is by its nature a political position. Thank you. Oh, and we also need basically boots on the ground. We are down officers, we don't need more administrators.
Thank you. So, the whole issue of the PBA coming to the microphone, you haven't been recognized yet. The whole issue of the PBA coming to the microphone was, last year, they said they were unsafe. And I take that very seriously, and as far as I can see, nothing has changed. So I want to make sure that we have a safe and secure environment for all our employees. No other group has complained about their safety other than the police officers. And it wasn't about the safety out in the streets, which, is certainly understandable. It was about safety within their own police department, which I found bizarre. Anyway, yes.
Lynn Miascos, 10th Street. I don't know too much about the qualifications for the public safety officer, but I have a couple of questions. Maybe you can answer them. Is this person considered a law enforcement official?
No, they're an appointed position above the chief.
Okay.
They serve as a liaison.
They serve as liaison, okay. Now, in previous
And
meetings...
have other duties and functions.
Of course. In previous meetings, I recall hearing that this person would be the first person to be trained in CPR, because we don't know who we're going to get off the street to apply for this. They'll be trained in CPR so that they, as a first responder to an emergency in town, can be the first ones on the scene. Does anybody remember hearing that? Or am I the only one that heard that?
I know that this draft here that we have for second reading dealt with the one provision that I think you're speaking about, which was the very first section of the duties and functions, and it's been changed.
Okay,
So I'm not
that person
sure.
is no longer expected to be basically the first person on the scene, with officers obviously.
Well, I don't think
on
it
the
ever,
road.
I think it said take command of the city. Is that what you're talking about? We took that out.
Okay.
Right.
Will this person be riding around in a borough vehicle?
Potentially.
Will it be a police vehicle?
I don't know yet.
Would they be permitted to be in a police vehicle?
Those details haven't been worked out.
Well, I think we need to know that, because as a law enforcement officer, are they allowed to, as a public safety director, is he or she permitted to ride around in a law enforcement vehicle with a radio, with probably not a gun, of course?
No. I would assume no to your question, but I don't know for sure.
I mean, because I don't think the
I've
person's
never
gonna
gotten
ride
that,
around
I've never
in a
gotten that
car.
detail.
I have to say for the record that they have let me have a course right around.
I want to hear what Carol has to say.
They allowed you to drive around in a police car,
Who's that?
the police department.
Let me clarify
You were
that.
allowed to
You
ride
were
around?
allowed to drive around in a police car.
Were you?
Take it down.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, the car that I drove to my classes was stripped of the lights on the top. It
Right,
was,
but it had everything else in it that a police car has. That's what I was told.
no, that's incorrect. The car was stripped.
Well, why would you be told that anyway? And if you are told, if I won't,
Excuse me, who are you?
I told you who I was.
Okay, you're putting comments, ma'am, I mean...
That's okay.
All right,
Let's get back on track.
I'm asking you a question, I'll be trying to take it easy, calm down. I'm not here to
I'm
calm
very calm, ma'am. You're
Well,
very...
why are you accusing her?
You're asking a question, I didn't accuse anybody of
Answer it
anything.
then, answer it. How did you find that out, that she was in a police car when it wasn't the truth?
Let's get
That's
back
a
on.
lie then.
Get back
I
on.
don't like that.
It's not a lie, ma'am. It's not a lie.
Lizette, I'm ashamed of you if you've done that. And I'm more ashamed of this council who did nothing about it when you knew it. If you knew it, Carol, why did you do something about it then?
For the record, if I may, for the record,
That's okay, you can handle it.
the vehicle that I used for classes is a strict police vehicle. That vehicle was also used by the property maintenance officer that we had last year to drive around town and give summonses. That vehicle was also used by some of our volunteer firefighters to go up to the fire academy and take classes. No,
As is appropriate.
it is not a police vehicle. It's a strict police vehicle,
I
which
just
is,
wanted to know if that's
which
what
is
was
actually
going on,
still
and-
in the parking lot. It's like a jalopy now. We're hoping to auction it. It's still in the parking lot. It's not a police vehicle.
You didn't ask to use a police vehicle?
Let's get back on track.
No, I did not.
I have a problem if Lizette was out using a police vehicle, and you guys knew it, and nobody
Okay.
did anything about it.
All right, we heard the explanation.
We don't control
Do you
police
have comments?
vehicles.
Any
You
more
don't control
comments?
I don't control the police vehicles.
When you
The
get a
chief
pu-
does.
Public safety officer, you will.
It's the chief does.
Now, the other thing is this, the public safety officer,
Go ahead.
they're gonna be riding around probably in a borough car, because they're not gonna take a job and use their own car. I wouldn't think so.
Look, I don't envision them patrolling at all. I envision them...
They'll be giving out tickets, like parking
No,
tickets and
no,
stuff?
no, you're missing the point. This is a person who's supposed to oversee senior management and liaison with the council and the administrator for police issues, administrative issues.
I get it, okay.
Okay?
Let me just get
Administrative,
another
not law
question.
enforcement.
If he finds, or she finds there are administrative deficiencies, does this person have any authority to do anything about it, being a non-law enforcement person? They do. What do they have? What abilities do they have?
The envisioning of the PSD director position is to governance, to set policies, to make sure policies are followed, to implement the Attorney General guidelines on internal affairs. That's an example. So he's going to look at
Well,
the
there should be a job description.
There is a job description.
I mean,
There
not
is
just
a
for us.
job description.
Not unique to each town.
Many towns have PSDs, that's right.
Which ones? Which ones?
Edgewater.
Monroe's is scrap.
Edgewater does it.
You know what, I really don't need to debate with you.
I'm not debating.
All right, I understand.
You're
I'm not even voting. I'm not even
You're knowledgeable
voting.
on that. I expect to depend on you.
I'm not even voting. All I know is that I had 4 different ordinances that I looked at in conjunction with this. Many towns have them, and then eliminate them, and then bring them back, which apparently is the case in Englewood
Now,
Cliffs.
if we get this person and we then have to supply them with a car, means we gotta buy a car too. And insurance.
No one's buying a car. I don't think anyone should have a car, actually.
This is a public safety director
Okay,
creation
so
of
you
a
come to work and
position.
stay here.
You know
We're
what?
not
Everyone else
discussing
comes to work and
employment
don't.
emoluments.
Okay, but then how do you expect that person to go and take command of, I beg your pardon?
No, we're not doing employment emoluments in this
You need
ordinance.
to understand what this public safety director is about,
Okay.
okay? The person is not a law enforcement official.
Right.
The person has no jurisdiction over the police department, really.
I disagree with that. but
Well, okay, you could disagree, that's okay.
Okay.
That's fine. I would like to...
It certainly is a position allowable under state law, okay? So, we didn't just dream it up out of
State law
nowhere.
on the civilian side, not the law enforcement
It's
side.
state statutes provide for a public safety director, which can be a director of the police department, yes.
Okay, they could be a director of the police department, but not a law enforcement official, correct?
My understanding is he's not a law enforcement, he doesn't have a badge.
Okay, okay.
Mayor,
All right.
I think
Yes.
the question...
Let me recognize you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Would you like to have the floor?
May I?
Yes.
I don't know who to direct the question to, mayor or council
Well,
or
no,
administrator.
I thought you were answering her question.
I am answering her, but I'm asking for clarification. I believe our current borough administrator is perfectly capable of doing all the tasks that a public safety director, that job description entails. Am I incorrect in that?
I'm not responding to calls, definitely not.
Okay.
I refuse, that is
Fine.
your...
But administratively is what we're talking about, so I don't blame you
That's a
there.
good point, though. Administratively, the capability is there.
So-
Administrative, well, I can do any...
I'm sure you can do any of it, right? Sure.
So that's one of my objections to, that's one of my objections to public safety directors. I think we already have a
We
qualified
already have
person.
one
in place
qualified
for-
person, right.
to handle it.
Dr. Versa, thank you. Thanks very much.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
May I add?
Yeah.
You know, I've had conversations with our administrator several times relative to one issue. Firstly, you know, the way this has been written, a lot of things have been taken out. Performing the control duties has been taken out. Assuming command of the same has been taken out. Establishment of staffing levels has been taken out from the previous ordinance. So day-to-day operations was never the intention of this position. And I've also spoken to on numerous occasions with our administrator, Catherine, relative to overtime. I've also had discussions with the chief on overtime. You know, and it's okay for us to disagree, chief. You know, we've had, you know, and spoken, you know, there's different ways to curtail the overtime or control the overtime. Catherine, as administrator, you've expressed to me, without being in the police department, it's a challenge to have the checks and balances to make sure.
I can't justify, or let me not say justify. I can't authorize overtime if I'm not in the police department, which I don't plan on being in the police department, before it occurs. You have to compensate employees if they already worked. So, yes, I have it after. So, yes, if you were to have somebody that's going to authorize overtime, which is outside of the chief's authority, that person would have that responsibility, I'm assuming, by the source.
What's the current status right now in terms of the budget and overtime? Where are we?
I think we're at 240 hours.
240,000?
I'm sorry, $240,000.
And what's the budget?
307,000.
300,000.
So it sounds like we're gonna have a problem. Okay, are you done?
Thanks.
No.
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
No, it's just the ordinance.
Elizabeth, 132 Hollywood. I'm very confused, I'm sitting here. Are you planning to vote tonight on that you're going to create this position?
Yes.
In that case, you have to already know, or you have no right to vote on it, what the job entails and what you plan to pay for it.
It's a two-step process, ma'am.
No, you don't create a job with no idea what it's going to cost and vote on it with no idea what you're voting on without knowing the salary and the benefits and all the details, or else you're voting on inadequate information, which makes it sound stupid.
So I've been advised that this is a two-step process. You create the position, and then you create the actual finite job description and the package, which I will rely on.
Which comes by an ordinance as well.
What is this package?
There will be a separate ordinance for salary if this position is
So
filled.
you're going to vote for a position that you don't know how much you're going to pay for, that you're expecting me.
No position in the borough code has a salary attached to it.
So you send out a notice, come and apply for a job. We don't know what we'll pay you. We're not sure what package we're going to give you. So why don't you submit a resume?
We're not at that point, and we didn't fall off the bumpkin truck, ma'am. We are doing this the way everybody else does, okay? We are creating the ordinance for the position, just like all the other positions in this borough, okay? Look at our ordinances. And then, from there, we go to the next step, which is we create the job description.
All right, so let's assume you pass it tonight, and then you come up with a number. You get to vote on whether or not that number works. Whether that fits into the budget. I mean, where does this money, come out of?
I assure you that we have been nothing but fiscally conservative and responsible since the day I came into office.
I'm asking you, where does this money come out of? If you vote on the position today, and you don't, you have not established what you're paying, what your benefits packages, what your salary packages, what your vehicle is or is not. So then you have another step, and then you create all these things, and where the finances come from, I don't either.
All of these things will be done. If we decide to go out, it is the borough's usual procedure that when we advertise for a position to fill it, the mayor and council vote on it by resolution. It is the borough's procedure that I've learned here, sitting here, that every time we want to fill a position that is already in the code or created in the code, we determine the salary and it goes in a salary ordinance. Nothing is hidden, nothing is being guessed at, nothing is being overlooked. We are following the procedure that this borough has always followed. All the positions in the borough are created, and when you go to fill it, you need to set a salary by salary ordinance. Typically, it's the subject of negotiation, and it's not going to be approved unless it's part of the budget. So that's the way it's gonna go.
So you have a second vote on whether, or after you decide you're gonna have
This is an ordinance to create a position. It has a first reading and a second reading. The next step is the next step. It may come up next month, it may come up 2 months from now. I don't know.
Anybody else? Yes. Thank you.
One Swift, 4-wheeler drive. We do have a lot of litigation in the police department, and most of the really, in fact, all of the really disturbing stuff originated before the current administration.
If you can't sit there and listen, then you have to leave, sir. You in particular, because you've been doing this all night, okay? Thank you.
The stuff with things like ignoring allegations of sexual abuse of a minor. The stuff about interfering in a criminal investigation. That kind of stuff. We have tried the current system for a very long time. It's not working. Year after year, we get very disturbing lawsuits. Not the PBA, but citizens suing. And like Mrs. Geiger, I've read the litigation. But unlike Mrs. Geiger, I've gone way beyond the complaint. I'm very fond of the civil research. You get some really fun documents here, like attachments to motions. I have lots of deposition transcripts. I have lots of exhibits. One of my personal favorites is an exhibit which is a report, an allegation of criminal activity, and it comes together with a deposition transcript in which a member of our police department who was related to the alleged burglar, spoke to one of the witnesses. If I did it, I'd probably get charged with witness tampering. There is another set of depositions that I got a civil case through where there seems to be a major contradiction between the testimony of a retired police officer and a current police officer. I think we need to try a public safety director because what we have now is not working. These lawsuits are not little nuisance things. Some of them are very serious allegations of very serious violations of people's rights. And I realize that occasionally every police department has one of those, but we seem to have way more than our fair share.
Yes.
Dave Gregorio, 165 Charlotte Place. Known to the mayor as a parrot. I'm proud of this. I wrote actually to the mayor and the council and others concerning our town hiring a public safety director. Tax-paying residents of Englewood Cliffs are the big users here. The mayor, a puppet of the council president, is no leader. So weak in leadership, he must create a new position at our expense to control an excellent police department. Liberal with our money, unable to forge relationships. We have a visionless puppet driven by the vengeance of the council president. Residents should show up in droves at the next council meeting and make a statement at the ballot box. Shame, shame, shame. Now, the mayor responded to me in this manner. Good morning, Mr. DiGregorio. Attacking people rather than issues never solves a problem. And that may be why you have never solved a problem. And then he says, and I asked him to respond to me, I reserve further comment and action. Have a good holiday weekend, Mario. Mario, what action? You said you reserve further comment and action. What action specifically did you have in mind that you were going to reserve?
My comments are reserved, and my actions are reserved. You feel free to attack people and not issues, keep doing it.
Well,
It's up to
I
you.
will repeat that.
You are an adult, you get to make your decisions.
That
And you've been warned.
the creation of this position is indicative of a complete failure of leadership on the mayor's part. Mayor Mario Kranjec is a failed leader because he does not have the capacity to reach out to the head of the police department and forge a working relationship. And there are probably reasons for that. And they probably rest on the council president. So I will say now that this is an entire folly on the mayor's part and the council president, and it is a waste of every hard-earned taxpayer's money that we earn every day. I don't mind paying money if we're going to see a difference in the quality of life in Englewood Cliffs. I'm the first one to pay extra. This will have no difference whatsoever. It will give certain people on the council control over somebody they chose not to like for one reason or another. And what has happened in the past, as other people say here, needs to stay in the past. This mayor has dragged the past into the present to justify his idiotic actions of the present. If he were a man, he would reach out across the aisle, not be a puppet of others, and he would have a nice drink with the chief and say, let's resolve things, and let's have
I would, but Mama
the
Mexico
best
is
town
closed.
that we can possibly have. Unfortunately, that did not happen. A complete failure in leadership, and I would say that this mayor really needs to be recalled. Thank you.
So, in terms of financial responsibility and fiscal folly, we as a community, we waste and spend more money doing nothing and leaving things the way they are than having a public safety director. We have to deal with this. And I've tried to deal with it different ways. But, Mr. DiGregorio, we are spending dollar after dollar, probably about $1 million, as I mentioned, since 2010, dealing with litigations. And that's money that could have been spent to, that's money, excuse me, that's money that should have been spent on a better park. That's money that should have been spent on parks. You don't have the floor, you're going to have to leave, sir. Thank you.
I'm leaving because I want to go home and go to sleep. This parent wants to rest.
Cover the cage.
All right, cover the cage. So we spend more money by not doing anything, and I'm only calling on people once, so the people have already spoken.
That's not very funny.
No one got called twice. No, she was. No, you're confused.
have something to say, and I'm gonna say.
No, you don't get
I don't know, but I have to say.
You're out of order.
I know.
Then you have to leave if you're out of order.
I'm gonna tell you. I want to know what I have to say.
I want you to respect this council.
Get more police.
I want you to
and
respect this
overtime.
council. Yes, ma'am. She's leaving. Thank you. And for the record, people who spoke earlier at caucus and people who spoke during the public portion of the regular meeting are allowed to speak again here because it's different. Hi.
Say Fair, 49 Lee Avenue. I'm speaking against the ordinance to create the position of the public safety director. My concerns are the same as they were at the last meeting where this was discussed, and it was set aside to be revised. I don't think that enough was taken out of it. First of all, I don't think we need a position at all. I agree with the previous speakers. This is a complete waste of taxpayer money. It's adding a layer of political bureaucracy that is not necessary. We have an excellent police department, an excellent chief, and I would say that we would have been much better served as a town had the new mayor and council reached across and spoke to the chief and tried to work with the chief. Now, that being said, I don't think that this ordinance, the way that it's written, it's the same thing as the last week. You are saying, oh, it's administrative, it's this, it's that. But the ordinance still says a lot more than that. And that concerns me as a resident. I do not want a civilian who serves at the pleasure of the council to know anything private about any of our residents. And I don't think that they should be privileged to have information into internal affairs. These are police matters, and they should stay with the police.
And I agree, and they won't. They won't have that access. So your problems are solved.
Well, then how are you going to oversee internal affairs?
Procedures and policies, not particular matters.
So he will not have it, he will not be saying anything private.
No,
in internal
procedures and policies.
affairs. I don't think that's spelled out very clearly in the ordinance. See, that's, I think, the problem here.
That's clear.
What you're saying and what is written is not, doesn't jive, 100%. And whether it does or it doesn't,
It does.
I'm against the ordinance, I'm against the creating of the position. It's a waste of taxpayer money, and it's going to cause more litigation. I really don't think it's going to serve the borough well. I don't.
So what everyone who comes and says that, takes a microphone and they say, look, you're not working with people, you're not reaching across the aisle. I've been saying since day one of my administration, hey, look, I'll work with anyone who's willing to work with me. And along the way, I have found some very interesting people to work with because I never thought they would work with me. So for all of those who are still shunning the opportunity to work with me, there's still an opportunity. But now you have to tell me that you want to work with me. I can't discern that you're willing to work with me. So again, if you're willing to work with me, I'll work with you. Yes. Yeah. That corner is all kind of plunging in my head here.
Number Sawyer, 106 College. Okay. I want to once again say that I'm totally against this position for many reasons. Official responsibility, what this is going to cost us, I can only imagine. I mean, with all these responsibilities, they're going to come with a big ticket. What I'm trying to understand is actually, how did we agree as a mayor and council to create this ordinance, and who was involved in deciding what the responsibility of this employee would be?
As I said the last time, I worked with Councilman Wu on writing this. I did my own research. I read the state statutes. I read the current code, I read other municipal ordinances, and I also did research in state law. So I got built up on it. I've previously written a PSD for a very urban town, so this is different, obviously, and that department had many police
So
officers.
from the council, you worked with Mr.
Right, I did consult with Mr. Wu. He gave me information, and then in the rewrite, he was active with it as well.
Okay.
And I took the council's direction, because they said to take the volunteer fire department out. I think at times, I mean, it was
No, I understand that, but basically, Mr. Wu.
Councilman Wu, yeah.
Councilman Wu, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he assisted directly.
Is assisted in the language.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, did you meet with the chief to discuss the position and how it may help the police department?
The police committee did have one meeting with the chief.
We had one meeting. During all these discussions, we've had one meeting with the chief regarding this position.
I've also had one additional meeting with the chief.
Okay, and have you, I know that this position is being created because of the lawsuits. I was in my own opinion as when those lawsuits took place, except for the one with the bayonet and the officer sleeping at his desk. Happened to be one particular officer, Mura, which this council basically dismissed all the charges against him. So, with all these litigations.
Do you feel better about that? I mean,
I do
that
feel
you
better
mentioned his
about
name
that.
like that?
Yes, I do.
Good.
I do. You mentioned.
It's
it
more than
quite
lawsuits.
often.
It's more than just lawsuits,
Quite
okay?
often.
There's a lot of,
You said that that was a big part.
that's a big part of it, right? And I'm saying there's more.
May I finish?
There's a lot of dysfunction.
May I finish?
You may.
Okay.
In a minute.
What I would like to ask is, Mr. Wu, have you read all of these lawsuits against the town?
I have.
Okay, because that differs a little bit, so I'm glad you brought yourself up to date with that. In reading the responsibilities of this potential position, they may have knowledge and ability to law enforcement theory, principles, and practices. That's number 3. Ability to manage and prevent, yes, under qualifications. Ability to manage and prevent litigation. Court decisions and how they affect public safety operations. These are things that they may have, not things that they must have. I mean, I don't understand, if we're creating a position to try to employ somebody who's going to supervise and hopefully somehow or another reduce litigations or be responsible for how they're handled, how is it that they don't have some type of a law background or a background in administration? I mean, it's not a qualification. The only 2 things that are qualifications here are A and B. And it doesn't, it doesn't really require them. I mean, our police officers have to have a BA. They can't have experience of 10 years or more and get a job in this town. They must have a BA.
Well, now they do, before they never had it.
Right, now they do. Absolutely.
I know.
So, and kudos, I think that's great. But what I'm saying is this in particular position doesn't require
Yeah, but this
a
is
BA.
not the ad for the newspaper.
But this is what we're voting on. This is not the requirements.
What is it with this background over here that
I'm speaking for myself because I get up here
appreciate that.
and I'm not ridiculing
Well, I'm not
anybody.
rude to anybody, but there's a lot of people being very rude
I'm
tonight.
asking questions. You know what? You're talking to me right now.
I think-
I'm asking questions.
Well, they're
Well, I'm not
important.
going to answer to
And
that.
all I said was that in a job description,
Right, but this is the ordinance we're voting on. So
I
is
understand
this
that.
part of the job description? Is it an either or?
no, I think you could add more.
But if that's the intention, why isn't it there? If they have to have some type of legal background so that they can try to deal with conflict, how does somebody deal with court decisions and how they affect public safety
I don't think
operations
you
if
need
they
to put
don't
all that
have
in there.
experience? Can I finish?
Bob, you asked a question.
It's saying may, and it's not that they have to have that experience. So are we looking for somebody who has more experience than what's listed here as mandatory?
There's a good reason for it to be written that way. The issue is that there's many well-seasoned police officers who are now retired who don't have BAs or BSs or JDs or MBAs, because at that time, a lot of police departments didn't require them. So we didn't want to limit ourselves in terms of having people who were very well experienced running a police department, such as the gentleman that was up here earlier. I don't know if he does or doesn't, but there's a lot of people of generations earlier that don't have those educational qualifications, but they have great field experience, great administrative experience. So,
Agree 100%.
right.
I agree 100%.
So there's a reason for
But if a
it.
police officer has 10 years of experience, is he not just as qualified without a BA because he has 10 years of
Don't, I
experience?
mean, there's like a lot of questions, so go ahead. Go ahead,
The
get to the
question
point.
was is why it wasn't needed here.
So that's why, I gave you an answer.
So are we looking to hire retired police officers?
Now she's going somewhere
That's what
totally
you just
different.
said.
No, you asked that, no, look, I know what you're asking. You asked at the last meeting, or somebody else did from that corner. Look, we're not hiring Carol's husband, okay? That's what we're doing, all right? That's what you're asking me. No, that's what you're asking. Let's move forward, come on,
That's
come on.
not what I'm asking.
Come on, you know, let's go.
Okay?
Come
I
on.
think you would like to sit there and be arrogant and nasty to me.
I'm not being arrogant and nasty. I mean, look, I'm not sure if you're...
Little game, because that's not how I operate. You can treat anybody else you like that.
Go
I'm not gonna
ahead.
fall into
But
it.
you're...
I'm going to continue with my concerns.
What are your
I
concerns?
also have a concern with the salary of this position. I know you're saying that this is not the way it's handled and that you create a position, but if you've been sitting there and you've been talking about this as a mayor and council, how do you even decide to create a position that hasn't existed without discussing salary?
That's been asked and
How do
answered.
you-
It's been asked and
And
answered.
you know what, but it's not okay. You have
That's
to have
fine.
some idea as to what you're going to pay.
That's fine. Then you're not okay with it. We answered the question earlier. Go ahead. What else?
So I guess, I can go over all the things here that they're responsible for. My problem is that you don't seem to have them being required to have the experience that would be needed to handle all of these responsibilities.
Thank you.
So I think you need to rethink the qualifications of this position.
We've thought about it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for your feelings.
Don't worry, the truth will prevail.
Yeah, I'm reading your,
Mary O'Shea, 12 Irving Avenue. I'm in favor of the police director. I mentioned it when we first introduced it, when it included fire department. I know Joe Delaney, who had been the police chief in Paramus, retired, went to Ramsey as public safety director, police director, same type of thing, and straightened out that department with his years of experience. In Palisade Park, Michael Vitri retired from the police department.
excuse me. In the foyer, leave if you're going to make noise. In the back of the room, leave if you're going to make noise. Mary O'Shea has the floor right now. Give her the respect she deserves.
Michael Vitri retired as the police chief and then was hired by the Borough of Palisade Park for, 3 to 5 years as public safety director. He did not work full-time. He worked part-time, okay? And nobody's saying this position might not be a full-time position, might be a part-time position. In the salary that he received as a retired police chief, he did not pay pension benefits because he didn't want to impact his pension. He didn't take medical, he already had it. So a lot of the times when a retired police chief takes a position like this, it's a very, it's cost-saving for the borough because they just have the salary for whatever they're engaging them in. And the men are already retired, they're collecting a pension, they got all their benefits. So that you can get a lot of experience. And like the mayor said, many people don't have a college degree from years ago. It wasn't a requirement. The requirement was a high school diploma and had to take a test. And then in recent years, we didn't even give a test. We just hired a friend of a friend, okay? And I've had good experience with the Englewood Police Department, and I've had a few bad experiences with the Englewood Police Department. And when people talk about patrol, and I was thinking of what Tony was saying with the cars speeding. A few years ago, I went to talk by Declan Scanlon, who was an assemblyman in the state of New Jersey, talking about the red light cameras. And he lives out near Dover or someplace. And he said when he drives down the highway and he sees a police car parked on the side of the road doing a radar trap, he feels that's a policeman we don't need, because they should be patrolling the residents, the streets, the businesses. They shouldn't be sitting on the side of the road trying to catch somebody that's speeding down the highway. And I had an incident going up 9W a week ago. I think it was on Tuesday, and I had to go babysit in Westwood. And I saw the police car sitting by the 9W on the southbound lane, right by the current LG building where the road's cut in. He was sitting there trying to catch speeders going down the street. Now, I'm sure Tony would have appreciated if he was sitting on John Street and monitoring the town instead of monitoring the highway. But that, when we talk about needing police officers, that's a police officer we don't need sitting on the highway. He should be in taking care of the security of the residents and situations like that. So I'm in favor of a public safety director. I'm looking for an improvement in the town. I'm looking for an improvement in the morale, and I'm looking for less lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, Mayor.
I think Mr. Slater can still hear you in the foyer. Can you please go outside and speak?
Okay. Maria Valari, 45 James Drive. Actually, that's really disturbing. It's very...
It's disrespectful, what they do.
And you know something, I sit here week after week, we sit here very quietly, we listen to what these people are saying, and then when somebody gets up to say something, we have to hear constant gibberish coming from outside and from...
Well, that's because the rules don't apply to everybody, apparently. Mr. Slater, Mrs. Slater, can you just go outside and talk? Your voices are carrying, they're disturbing us.
I mean,
Will you please leave?
it's not being rude to ask for
Well,
them to be quiet, because it comes in here, go outside and talk. Nobody is saying that you're not allowed to talk.
You can't close the doors, this is a public meeting.
He's closing the door.
So, I wasn't going to get upset, seriously. I wish I'd gotten up earlier, though. What I want to say is that I think that we should all be giving you guys some credit for trying to work things out. And whether you agree with, having somebody do this or not, it really is up to the governing board to make decisions for us residents. However, what I want to point out here is, this is not the residents. This is not the residents. There are 5,200 residents in Englewood Cliffs. And meeting after meeting after meeting is beating up, making innuendos about Mrs. McMorrow, making innuendos about Mayor Kranjak. But you guys have not been given an ounce of respect from day one. And I'm sorry, you can laugh what you want. I'm a really well-tempered person, and I like everybody. I really do. If I run into you, I like what you do. I like your daughters. I like everybody. And it's hard for me to sit here, meeting after meeting, listening to this. We've heard 1,000 times what they don't agree with this paper. How many times? Is there 100 people here today? We have to hear the same questions, the same innuendos, the same crazy ideas, and I seriously, it's 10:30. This is ridiculous. We need to go home and rest. We have families at home, and we're trying to do something right for our town. And maybe they don't agree with what I think, and I don't agree with what they think. Well, we don't have a right to have an opinion. And it's just getting a little bit too crazy in this place. It really is. I really feel bad for Carol. Carol, every meeting I hear the innuendos about your husband, and I feel really bad because I know Mike McMorrow. He is the sweetest guy. He just is so quiet. He never says as God is my witness, I have never heard a negative comment from that man about anybody. So it kind of...
I don't need you to have, I don't need to be... I'm not defending you. Just let them. They have to live with how they act.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Monica.
You don't even know what the facts are, and they're already coming up with these crazy stories.
Laugh. Go ahead, Gloria, you think it's funny, right?
No, I'm just looking
Yeah,
at the
I know you
faces
think it's
out
funny.
there.
I'm very calm. There are people that are not here to defend themselves.
Okay, we have a hand in the back.
Nine Miller Drive. In light of all of these discussions, I think we really do need to hear from somebody, again, who probably knows far more about this than anybody sitting up there or anybody in the audience. So I will yield my time to former Chief O'Keefe for his comments, please.
No, we don't, there's no yielding this time.
I believe it's in Robert's Rules of
No,
Order, Mayor.
I was advised by counsel, Chief O'Keefe, I think you're very eloquent.
Will you pull out your book of Robert's Rules,
You've
please, and show it to
spoken,
me?
you're very eloquent.
Yes, okay, she has said it.
That's fine, sir. I think, you were respectful last time around, so it's fine.
I just want to make sure that you understand fully the responsibilities and rights of the public safety director, the operation of the police department. There seemed to be some confusion when we were first discussing automobiles. A public safety director has no legal right to be in the March Police Department, police radio.
Right.
The day-to-day operations of the police department is solely the responsibility in Title 40 of the police chief.
Right.
The public safety director cannot look at internal affairs complaints.
Agreed.
Conduct investigations.
Agreed.
Go on patrol, cannot make arrests, has no police powers, cannot carry a gun, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Agreed.
A lot of the things that people are bringing up with respect to what's included in this ordinance really should be clarified so that people have a full understanding that the civilian authority given to a public safety director is not statutory, and it has nothing to do with law enforcement.
Agreed.
So you simply are not in a position to delegate responsibility absent any type of statutory support with regard to the safety director. So it should be clear to everyone that this is simply an administrative liaison position. It has no ability to go to an emergency scene. It cannot conduct an investigation.
We agree.
So I just want to make sure the public is aware of that, because it seems that there seems to be some disagreement.
Well, we've been over everything already. I understand, but it does often say it here, and it talks about governance of the police department.
I understand that.
Okay? That's what it talks about.
Well, it says other things in terms of responsibilities and qualifications, and one that really disturbed me, and I wasn't aware of that being present on this decision, is the appointee shall generally possess knowledge and ability required to enter the job and required to obtain such knowledge within a reasonable period of time. That strikes me as saying that you're giving the most important position of emergency services within this borough to someone who doesn't necessarily have the knowledge and is going to learn on the job. I think it's very dangerous.
Okay, that's not what it says, but thank you.
I just read it verbatim.
I understand. It says a college degree, I believe, or 10 years of experience.
And with respect to your question, I'm not sure degree in the master's degree in business administration. So there are other police chiefs and other people that have the knowledge to look into this. I just want to be sure that you're doing this correctly.
And I thank you for your comments. And I want you and everyone else to also understand just the magnitude of the issues and the facts surrounding those issues that have come to light since I became mayor. Many of these litigations had sealed records, so you could never actually look at the level of dysfunction in the facts, which come to light after a while. And there's a problem when a PBA official comes and stands where you are and says, "Okay, we don't feel safe here." That's what they did. So I need to deal with it, sir, and I respect you. I hope you have the same level of respect for me. Thank you.
I simply, again, would just revert to my prior position that necessitate bringing in another layer of administrative oversight with respect to the public safety. That's something that could be resolved with the police department or the prosecutor.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's another story. So can I have a motion to close the public portion? Oh, yes.
Solomon Ramos, Angle Plus Police. Is that working? It's okay, I speak loud enough.
It's working.
I think it's working.
It works, it works.
Take it out.
Take it out.
Take it out.
Put your mouth on it.
And put the red line on.
I'd like to clarify what you said. Okay? We have our faith in higher-ups.
Okay,
We're not divided in this department.
okay.
It wasn't a secret meeting, what you think the meeting came to talk about. You're proceeding into the public the wrong way. I don't know where you got the idea that we came to you for help or to complain about higher-ups. I came to introduce myself as one of the new members of the bargaining unit.
Right.
So I don't know
But
where this is
you
coming.
wouldn't do it anywhere but in private, sir.
No, we want to do it on neutral ground where you felt comfortable.
I feel comfortable anywhere. I feel comfortable anywhere, sir.
And we did a talk normally here.
Yep, I feel
It
comfortable.
was a meet and greet, was it not?
No, it was more than that.
Then what was it?
It was more than that. We talked issues. That's fine. You're free to come in here and say what you want.
There's no division.
I understand why you're here now, but you would not have done that before until I raised it, right?
Well,
You didn't want
said
anyone to know you met with me.
What you said was, let's say that was the case.
There's two
Let's
PBAs,
say,
right?
God forbid
This is
that
one
was the
PBA
case.
here, and I admire you
Who's
that,
at home?
and the other one is the one where you don't want to be seen in public. There's two
The
PBAs.
other one is off duty at home.
No,
the case.
that's the one that calls me at 9 PM on a Sunday to meet with you, okay? That's not
We see
normal.
who you are as an individual. We learn who you are as an individual.
Right,
We keep
likewise,
that to ourselves. Okay?
likewise.
I think it's obvious to most of the crowd in here anyway.
That's fine.
That's very disrespectful.
This man is extremely disrespectful to all the residents who
No,
voted for
you're
him.
really being disrespectful.
No, actually, you know what, sir?
I really-
Actually,
I'm disappointed.
are you in or out of uniform right now?
I'm actually off duty.
You look like half in, half out. Okay, well, look, you could stay to the issues, don't attack the person, attack the issue, okay? And facts have no feelings, right? Those are the things that I keep telling you, all of you, all right? So here we go. You guys called me.
Let's say-
I didn't call you, let me finish. Let me
Go
finish.
ahead.
You're being tough, and I want to tell you what I think of that. You guys called me at 9 PM on a Sunday, wanting to meet. I didn't call you, you called me, and I said, yes, I'll meet you right now. And you guys decided to meet, and I said, where do you want to meet? My office? My office? No, too public, we don't want to be seen with you.
That's not what I said. I didn't make.
Well, no, the other person did, Officer Lee did. So we met somewhere private, okay? And quite frankly, we had a good discussion. We did. But I'm telling you, for your own good, you guys need a public safety director. And someday,
And we
someday,
expressed why we didn't want
and
one.
someday, you will thank me. You will.
We'll see. We'll see if that's the case. However, let's just go down the road that you said that we were coming to you for help. If that was the case, in your professional opinion, if I was to come to you, hey, we need help, I don't trust so-and-so, do you think it would be a professional manner to put the two patrolmen on the spot, who have to then come to work, and try to paint the picture of division in our society and what we have
There's no
to deal with?
division.
Well, let's paint it
There's
together.
facts. There's facts,
No, no.
okay?
No, no.
You're a police officer, and
I did not
truthfulness
come
is
to you
important.
asking you for help. I came to you and introduce myself, told you where I went to college.
That was more than that. That's fine. Like you said, it could be between
Don't try to
us.
make it like this division. I have full faith in our chief. I have full faith in our
Of course you do.
captains.
Of course you do.
Absolutely.
Of course. Of course you do. He just clapped his hands. He's very proud of you.
You have full faith in me.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Because
No, you don't have the floor, sir. You don't have the floor.
I know, but you should tell the truth.
You don't have the floor.
Tell the truth.
About what?
About, you just lied in front of everybody.
No, not true. Not true.
Oh, here's the
The
other
officer
who
Lee's
said-
here.
Wait, who you said didn't want to be seen in public, who I said was off duty.
How did they get here? Somebody told them to come in?
Of course they did.
I mean, the chief is looking from the back there,
Guys-
glaring at us while
guys,
they're
you-
I did
speaking.
call him.
Not-
I did call him when I learned
Officer,
about what was
I'm not
said.
saying that.
Okay, who told you?
I'm saying the chief is...
My coworkers.
Right, okay, good. Good, well, I thank you for coming. I still think that you guys are highly regarded here in town, day to day. I think you guys do a good job. I think your senior leadership, and you're not part of that leadership, is not doing such a good job, okay? I'm very upfront with you guys. I'm telling you exactly tonight what I told you when we met, okay?
And the fact that we met in good faith with you, and you twisted it around, just shows.
No, look at what happened after we met. Think about it. Look at what you guys did after we met.
What did we do after we met?
After we met,
Is this really...
no, okay, we'll leave it alone. Council's telling me not to get into that.
So you're saying there was something after we met
Of course there was.
that triggered you.
Yeah. Look, you guys, and I know deep down you agree with me, you need a public safety director, more now than you ever did. Okay? Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
We don't need them.
Good. Good, thank you for your comments. Okay. Yes.
Diane Clark, 13 Birch Avenue. Anyone who knows me knows that this is a very difficult thing to do without public speaking. However, it disturbs me a great deal, the disrespectful way that you sit there and laugh at people who come up to speak in a very serious manner about very serious things. And you sit there actually laughing out loud. The first person who should be showing respect to the community, either side, should not sit up there laughing.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Do we have a motion to close the public portion?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Here. Is there a motion?
Ordinance, okay, we need a motion for the ordinance.
Motion to, for the ordinance to amend the code of the Borough of England, Cliffs, to add new provisions to create a position of public safety director.
Second. Mark, second. A roll call, please. Vote.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Absolutely not.
E. Park?
No.
O.
No.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Mayor, it's a tie.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, we have the first reading of ordinance 17-13, an ordinance fixing salaries, wages, and compensation for all salaried, appointed, and elected officers within the Borough of Englewood Cliffs, in the County of Bergen, and the State of New Jersey. Anything you can do?
We need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, and there'll be a public hearing on this at the next council meeting.
I need a roll call. Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park? Wu?
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing for ordinance 1713 will be October 11th.
Okay, going from my right to left, is there any council person who wishes to give us a committee report?
Lighting, Joe Goodman.
Thank you.
I have a committee report. On Monday, September...
Which committee?
Board of Health. On Monday, September 25th, from 4 to 7, we're giving out flu vaccines. So I'm going to be there. It's going to be held at the community building at 488 Hudson Terrace, and then there'll be additional parking at 482 Hudson Terrace. So I hope everybody shows up. There's a $20 fee, and people with Medicare can bring their Medicare cards, and I believe those will be free. So I hope to see everyone there. I'm bringing my two kids.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Manoa, do you have any?
Nothing from the transportation.
Anybody else?
Mayor, I just have to announce, community night out with, okay,
Oh, the second?
yeah,
No. Wait.
no, it's passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Community night out was August 22nd. And it was a great success. I thank all of the great volunteers that we had, and as successful as it was, I think we had 800 people this year, actually out here last year.
Yeah, it was tremendous. Thank you for organizing that, and
You're very welcome.
everybody who worked on that. I know DPW did a great job. Thank you, guys.
Everybody,
Thank you.
Catherine,
You did a fantastic job. Catherine organized it all.
and now our next event is the 5K race on this Sunday, actually. And I thank everybody up here that did sign up, Councilman Wu, Councilman Park, Mayor. I'm asking my three colleagues on the other side to please sign up, show up, help out. okay?
You were
when
there
you
last
let-
year,
excuse
Carol.
me. I didn't interrupt you, Alan. I didn't interrupt you. But I just-
Don't be accusatory.
I'm making
She's
a
asking you to
statement.
come on Sunday to
I'm
help.
asking you to come and to help out.
And we always do.
No, you don't. You actually don't. But I'm asking you to please come and help this Sunday. So, I'm just asking you to come and help. You actually didn't sign up yet, none of you. So I'm asking you to please sign up and support your borough events. Thank you, all right? That being said, for the residents, you can still sign up online through Friday, and otherwise you have to sign up in person the day of the event. Fun run starts at 8:30 for the children, and adults 9:15. The race starts, but sign up, you can start as early as 8 o'clock. That's it, Mayor, for those two reports.
Anybody else?
Yes, Mayor, I'm going to come to discuss about 827 and TBRS case. Tomorrow we want to continue to discuss about no more new case.
DPW, just want to announce on October 21, the Recycle Fest is taking place 9 to 1 at DPW. So cardboard, paper, clothing, shoes, etc. Also want to just thank Mark and his team for cleaning up the field on Friday. Under special circumstances, there was an event that took place, and this field needed some emergency work done. Police department took care of a issue over at 9910, 940 Sylvan Avenue on 9/11. It was an incredible threat. They took care of everything. They go through all the cars and make sure the issue is taken care of. So thank the police department for doing that.
Okay, thank you. Old business, we've heard on the B3 zone rehabilitation proposals already.
I need to make a motion on that, Mayor.
Okay.
Council vote to just send it back to the planning board one last time for final review, given all the information that they've heard over the last couple of meetings and public input, if they could review it, and I'll make a motion for
I'll
that.
second that.
Just to be clear, this is not a vote for rehabilitation. This is a vote for the planning board to relook at everything again.
That was McMorro and Evers, okay. Councilpersons Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O?
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes,
M. Park?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
thank you.
And just a point of observation, that this review that the planning board is going to do on our behalf is not a required element under the statute.
No,
Just like the other night's meeting was, it's an extra layer.
extra
they're
layer
doing.
of,
Technically,
It's fine.
just so I can start.
Okay,
Mayor, the only other thing is an update on the, I'm sorry, on the borough newsletter. Catherine has been working diligently with me. I really appreciate your help, Catherine. So far, I think the articles we had in from Shade Tree, Police Department, Planning Board, seniors, and DPW. Just a couple of departments we're waiting for, and then we're gonna start laying it out. Hopefully by Friday, we'll get a draft and,
okay, thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Lizette had an issue regarding RFQs for 2018, and you want to go ahead and request?
Yes, I'm just requesting a motion to start preparing RFQs so we can advertise in a timely manner to have them back by November for 2018. And I would like a motion in a second.
so moved. Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Park bench program, this is the bench program where people could buy tributes, and we also have some corporate sponsors coming in. Mark, where do we stand on that?
Benches are in there, benches have the good
Fans are in, probably sold by Friday.
Okay, great. Great.
Or,
And the first ones are going in where?
Bush.
Floyd.
Could you repeat that? What that was?
This is the park bench program where we're putting some park benches around town on public land. First ones are going in this week.
You said there was a ribbon cutting event?
I think we set that up once.
That's scissor.
Yeah, she's listening.
The big scissor.
COA update, Anne Marie?
I think I already said it.
Okay, got that. For a little bit, we did, you want to just give us the 3 litigation updates?
Just very quickly, we had closed sessions on these matters. They are all litigation matters, so we're not going to discuss them. The case of Joseph Navarro, Karen Geiger, and Melanie Simon versus the Borough of Englewood Cliffs et al. Is pending. There are motions scheduled, filed by the borough to dismiss that case and for other relief. The case of Us versus the patrolman, Us versus the borough, docket in Bergen, was dismissed by court order and written decision. Time to appeal has passed and no appeal has been received. There was a very good written decision of that dismissal of that officer's case. There was a dismissal last week of the police department's litigation called PBA versus the Borough of Englewood Cliffs and others, which is in the United States District Court. An order of dismissal was entered last week in that case. There is a period of time during which they can refile or attempt to refile. This was in the context of a motion to dismiss by the borough, so that motion to dismiss by the borough and borough defendants was granted, but they do have an opportunity to refile.
Okay, thank you. Just
I make a motion.
You want to make a motion?
Yes, I want to make a motion.
What would you like to make a motion on?
Well, are we done with, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Why don't you finish, Mayor?
Thank you. So, under new business, we have
Oh, no,
a couple of things.
old business. I want to make a motion.
On old business?
Yes, I want to make a motion to repair Wade Field, and I want to make a motion for portable lights. I did a little research.
Portable lights?
Correct. So at community night, apparently there was 3 nights that was donated for an evening, and I searched it afterwards, and apparently to rent a portable light, it's $550 per light. Now, at community night, there was 3. If we rented 4, that's $2,200 a month. We can rent it for 6 months out of the year, September, October, November, March, April, and May, and that would equal 2,200 times 6 is $13,200 a year. For that,
Does that include insurance?
that does not include maintenance, because obviously these people will maintain, does not include storage. And according to Andy Hiplowitz's estimate that he gave us back in, I think this was July 12th meeting,
Okay.
he estimated to put up lights to cost $462,000 for each field. One for softball and one for Little League would cost the total of,
Those are permanent or temporary?
those are permanent.
And you want temporary?
I want portable lights, just to start. I think this will give people in town to get used to perhaps getting permanent lights
How are they run?
by generators. I have information, so I will pass it around,
Okay.
okay?
You know, it would have been useful if you did at the board meeting.
Well, you know what, I want
And
to,
Andy was here.
Well-
Did you talk to him about it?
well, it's all in the brochure, so I'm going to pass it over to you. You could take a look, and the point is that for $13,200 for 10 years, which would cost us $132,000, for those 10 years for 4 lights,
What, 10 years of what?
10 years of lights would cost us $132,000, as opposed to having permanent lights that would cost us $462,000 per field. I think just economically, just to start off, it makes a lot more sense to get portable lights for everybody than to go ahead and say, okay, we're going to bond for, permanent lights at $462,000. I mean, I'm here to make progress too. I want everybody to, work
So,
together.
That's fine. So the reason I asked you if you talk to Andy about it is because we can't spend money unless we investigate what we're spending money on. And if I'm not an expert on lighting, and neither are
I
you.
have a question. So don't we have money in the rec budget for lights, for $13,200?
If Councilwoman Park is saying this is something that she wants to look into,
That's fine.
I accept that, and for the next meeting, we can have answers for you.
Okay, so
Okay,
can
that's-
I make a motion that we make
There's no motion.
a
You don't
vote
need-
next week?
You don't need a motion.
I'm sorry, next council meeting regarding portable lights then?
You're kind of rushing
You
through
don't need
things
a
here.
motion for that.
You,
If what you're saying, if you want to give me copies of what you have, you can have that. Thank you so much. I promise you, for the next meeting, I will have whatever answers you need, and you don't need a motion for that.
so,
Thank you.
I mean, if we had it before this meeting,
okay,
we
Mayor.
could have done it
Mayor.
before.
I got it after the
Doesn't
meeting.
matter.
That's fine.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
it's fine. I mean,
And I'll
okay,
get you
so
everything.
this is a big idea.
So if I have any questions that's not in here,
Right.
I'll
But the
call you.
motion is, why can't we still fix the grass in Woody Field? Why do we have to table the whole thing? Why can't we just move forward?
Mark and myself and the administrator are going to do a walkthrough of the field and see whatever is needed, and we'll make that report at the next meeting. Thank you.
I mean, if we need to, we could always have a special meeting. You talk about, like, you want to get the field ready for the, season in the spring. You don't want to wait a whole month, right?
Oh, I understand. I mean,
So, I mean, we're used to having special meetings, so we don't mind having a special
You
meeting.
guys are kind of, you're past that point already, okay?
Why?
Excuse me. There's no money in place to do whatever you're asking for now. Right now, what we have to do...
It's not too late, though. You make it seem like it's too late.
It's not too late.
That's right.
I didn't say it's too late. You're
said
not
the
hearing
practice.
me. You're not hearing me. The lights, I'm gonna have your answer for at the next meeting.
we had a beautiful
As for the
plan.
other,
Well, we had a beautiful plan. You guys voted against it, so
right, you
now...
voted it down. and
So
So
that's
just
it.
because
Well,
we
now we
voted
don't-
against your plan, you don't want to work with us?
No, that's not, no, we just said we are working with you, but you can't just pull this stuff out of your back pocket and say, do it, go spend money.
We always need to wait until when it's...
No, usually people,
Don't
it's
explain
like
politics.
it's a major project, and people think things through and create a budget, and they talk to their engineer who sat here, the engineer sat here for 2 hours waiting to be useful to us tonight.
And I will have an answer.
And
You guys look into this.
All right.
The other stuff, we're meeting with Mark, and
All right.
I'll have those updates.
Oh, thank you for that. New business, job fairs. Gloria, I saw you attended a job fair with the police officers. Let me just say this to the council. We act as a whole, so if there's a job fair with the police department, that should go through the police commissioner and the public
You
safety
know what,
committee.
excuse me, Mayor, I was invited by the Korean American Law Enforcement Organization. Maybe they didn't extend the invitation to you,
Or
but
to Mark
I was
Park?
invited.
Mark Park?
I don't know, I
Yeah.
can't speak for what they did, but I
Well-
was invited, and yes, I was there to support them.
So our officers were there in uniform but off duty.
They weren't just our officers, it was for the
No,
Korean
no, no, I
American
understand
Law
that.
Enforcement Organization. They were having a job fair in Fort Lee. I don't see what the
Look,
problem is.
I view that as a campaign stop for you, okay? That's the way I view it.
You know what, everything is
And you could
about
avoid,
campaigning and
you can
politics
avoid,
for you.
you can avoid those issues by sharing it with your fellow council members, okay? Because you were identified as a council person.
You know what, Mr. Mayor, maybe there was a reason that they
So my
invited
point
you.
is to everybody, my
They didn't
point
want
is
you to
that,
be there.
my point is that, look, if people are going to go do things in their capacity as council members with our police department, you really should run it through the right
Excuse me, I
channels.
was not there with our police department. I was invited by
The photograph I saw-
organization. They asked me to take a picture, and I don't know what the big deal is.
That's fine. So if
Are
there's
you
not a-
trying to make this into a political big deal?
No, it's not a big deal because you're making it a big deal.
No, you're making it a
You
big
should
deal.
actually share these things with the council.
Oh, just like you share everything with us?
I do, actually.
You know
So
what?
here's the next
You
thing
know
I'm
what?
going to share with you.
Okay, share it with us. Because I take offense to this.
Borough email addresses. Those are for borough business folks. They're not for, your politics and your personal Oprahs, okay? So just stick to the business. That's why you have a borough email. Don't abuse it, don't misuse it. Accrued vacation and other time. So I was looking at, No, you're sending me emails of that nature. Believe me, I have no interest in your other emails.
So then why are
So-
you telling us that we need to?
Because you're using borough emails to do personal things.
How do
and
you
that's
know
not-
that, though?
Because you sent me an email with a borough email address.
That wasn't personal.
That was personal. That was not in your official capacity.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm gonna look into it.
Go ahead. Give you something to do. Accrued vacation another time. So I just want everybody to put these two numbers in their heads before we leave here, and I'm speaking to Janice Romano about confirming them, but in the borough, and this is going to be something that we need to address in terms of budgeting for the future. In terms of vacation time accrued for all employees in the borough right now, it's about $930,000. Okay, so this is accrued time that hasn't been taken. And total sick time that hasn't been taken and is accrued for the whole borough is $1.75 million. So put those numbers in your heads, and I'm working on how to address those budget issues in the future, and I'm working on it today. Council members' transactions with borough employees, I just want to make sure, I understand in the past, one of our council people was selling vitamins to the police department. She's there. They really should not do business with our borough employees, okay? No matter what your business is, you know, unless you disclose it, otherwise it becomes somewhat of a suspect transaction. So if you're going to sell vitamins to the police department, you have a duty to disclose.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
I gave them to the police.
Oh, good, okay. Well, I wasn't going to mention your name, but... But, and then the other thing that I want to talk about, trying to get through the meeting, borough traffic conditions. We talked about this. There's speeders, there's, you know, the Jersey stop, people aren't stopping, they're just rolling. I mean, I just need maybe the borough administrator to sit down with the chief and talk to him about all the complaints that I'm receiving about Johnson Summit, South Virginia. We had Mr. Morfessis here talking about John and Dillingham. Oh, you moved. Join the other side, okay? Playing both sides, okay, got it. Right, so there's truth and jest. So the Carlino lawsuit was discussed already, I believe? Oh, was that in caucus?
Closed.
That was closed. Do you want to just mention this?
We have a new lawsuit. It's a personal injury case by a police officer in a neighboring jurisdiction. Sorry.
Everyone knows that story.
I think everyone knows it,
When the
right?
car was,
A police department,
they hijacked the car and took off in the speed chase, 27 pounds.
It was our police vehicle got carjacked after another carjacking, and it ended up in an accident, and this officer from another town, I don't think he was in that final accident, but he crashed along the way, and
he's still in this.
he's still in the borough.
Carlino, the guy that was the original, guy that was being chased?
No,
No.
he's in West, he's in...
New
Milford.
Milford.
Police officer.
Oh, okay, he's not the original.
No, that original carjacker is also a defendant, so we're in interesting company. Okay, so that's all I have. If anybody else has any new business, please mention it. If not, have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
I just want to make sure when we send that over to the was that, just before we close, that's for the same area they were looking at last time, the B3 area, the same properties.
It's the same thing.
Is that has to go over with that statement?
We have to have a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I have it.
Second.
Versa, and all in favor?
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Was that